When a single mother grabs a stranger's hand to escape her abusive ex, she doesn't realize she's just claimed the city's most dangerous man as her protector. Maya Carter's world is unraveling, working double shifts, dodging her violent ex-husband, barely keeping her daughter fed. One desperate moment in an upscale restaurant changes everything. The man whose hand she grabs isn't who she thinks. He's Adrian Volkov, a name whispered in fear across the city, and he's about to turn her life upside down. Stay until the end, hit that like button, and comment what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story reaches. The dinner rush at Meridian's was in full swing. Maya Carter moved through the crowded restaurant like a ghost, balancing 3 plates on her left arm, while her right hand gripped a pitcher of water so tightly her knuckles had gone white. The chandeliers overhead cast golden light across white tablecloths and gleaming silverware, illuminating a world she served but would never belong to. Her feet ached. The cheap flats she'd bought from the discount store 2 months ago were already falling apart, the sole of her right shoe developing a crack that pinched her heel with every step. But new shoes cost money. Money she didn't have. Not with rent due in 5 days and Lily's school supplies still unpaid for. "Excuse me, miss? We've been waiting for our wine for 15 minutes. Maya turned, forcing her customer service smile into place. The woman at table 12 wore a necklace that probably cost more than Maya's monthly rent. "I apologize, ma'am. I'll check with the bar right away." She delivered the plates to table 7, dodged a busboy carrying a tray of dirty dishes, and made her way toward the bar. Her manager, Dennis, caught her eye from across the room and tapped his watch meaningfully. She was falling behind. Again. Just 3 more hours, she told herself. 3 more hours and you can go home to Lily, her daughter, 6 years old, with dark curls and her father's eyes, though Maya tried not to think about that second part. Lily was with Mrs. Chen tonight, their elderly neighbor who watched her for $20 and whatever leftovers Maya could smuggle from the restaurant. It wasn't ideal. None of this was ideal, but it was survival. Maya reached the bar and was about to place her order when the front door opened. Time stopped. Marcus Carter walked into Meridian's like he owned the place, his broad shoulders filling the doorway. He wore an expensive suit, navy blue, perfectly tailored, and his dark hair was styled differently than she remembered. Shorter, more refined. But it was him. Those eyes that had once looked at her with love before they'd filled with rage. That jaw she'd seen clench before his fist flew. Those hands that had hurt her. Maya's throat closed. Her vision tunneled. The wine order died on her lips. No. No, no, no. Marcus hadn't seen her yet. He was speaking to the hostess, gesturing toward the dining room with easy confidence. The protective order was still active. He wasn't supposed to come within 500 feet of her. But when had Marcus ever cared about rules? About consequences? Maya's hands started shaking. The pitcher of water trembled, ice cubes clinking against glass. She had to move. Had to get to the kitchen, to the office, to somewhere he wouldn't see her. But her feet wouldn't cooperate. Her body had frozen, every muscle locked in place by the sudden spike of adrenaline and terror flooding her system. The hostess was leading Marcus into the dining room, toward the section Maya was working. Move. Move. Damn it, move. But she couldn't. She was trapped in her own body, watching her worst nightmare unfold in slow motion. Marcus's eyes swept the restaurant, and Maya knew that when his gaze landed on her, everything would shatter. The fragile safety she'd built, the careful distance she'd maintained, the new life she was desperately trying to create. He would see her. He would smile that smile, and then, "You look like you've seen a ghost." The voice came from her right, low and smooth, with a trace of an accent she couldn't quite place. Maya's head snapped toward the sound. A man sat alone at the bar, a glass of amber liquid untouched in front of him. He was watching her with unusual intensity, his pale gray eyes missing nothing. Dark hair, sharp features, expensive suit that made Marcus's look like a cheap imitation. There was something about the way he held himself, perfectly still, perfectly controlled, that reminded Maya of a predator waiting to strike. Her voice came out as barely a whisper. "I'm fine." "No," the man said calmly. "You're not." His gaze flicked past her, toward the dining room where Marcus was being seated, then back to her face. Something shifted in those gray eyes. Understanding, maybe. Or calculation. The man who just walked in, he said. He's the problem. It wasn't a question. Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. She didn't know this stranger, didn't know why he was watching her so carefully or how he'd read the situation so quickly. But Marcus was 30 feet away in closing, and her options had just run out. The stranger set down his glass and stood. He was tall, at least 6'2", with the kind of presence that made people unconsciously step back. But he didn't move toward Maya. Instead, he simply extended his hand, palm up. An invitation. "Take my hand," he said quietly. "Pretend you know me." Maya stared at him, at his outstretched hand, at the cold certainty in his eyes. Every instinct screamed that this was dangerous, that accepting help from a stranger was foolish, that she should run, hide, handle this herself like she'd handled everything else. But Marcus was here, and she was out of time. Maya's hand shot out and gripped the stranger's like a lifeline. His fingers closed around hers, warm, steady, secure. The trembling in her hand stopped immediately, though whether from his grip or the shock of what she'd just done, she couldn't say. "Good," the stranger murmured. He drew her closer, not forcefully, but with clear intent until she stood beside him at the bar. "Now look at me. Smile." Maya forced her gaze upward, meeting those pale gray eyes. Up close she could see they weren't entirely gray. There were flecks of silver near the iris, like shattered glass. His face was harder than she'd initially thought. Older, maybe mid-30s, with the kind of features that would photograph well but held little warmth in person. "I can't smile," she'd whispered. "I can't." "Yes, you can." His thumb traced a small circle against her palm, the gesture strangely grounding. "Because he's watching, and you need him to believe this." Maya's breath caught. She didn't dare look, but she could feel Marcus's attention like a physical weight. She forced her lips to curve upward, though the smile felt like cracking glass. "Better." The stranger's expression didn't change, but something in his voice softened fractionally. "What's your name?" "Maya." "Maya." He repeated it like he was tasting the word. "I'm Adrian, and right now I'm your very good friend who you're very happy to see. Can you do that for me?" She nodded, not trusting her voice. "The man behind you," Adrian continued in that same quiet tone, "is he your ex-husband?" "Yes." The word barely made it past her lips. "Does he hurt you?" Maya's silence was answer enough. Something flickered across Adrian's face, there and gone so quickly she might have imagined it. His grip on her hand tightened just slightly. "Then he's about to have a very bad night," Adrian said. "But first, I need you to trust me, just for the next few minutes. Can you do that? Trust a complete stranger? In a room full of witnesses with her abusive ex-husband watching. It was insane. But Maya was already drowning. What was one more risk? "Yes," she breathed. Adrian's smile was sharp enough to cut. "Good girl." He released her hand, but only to settle his palm against the small of her back, the touch proprietary and protective all at once. Then he turned, angling his body so Maya was partially shielded, and looked directly at where Marcus sat. Maya couldn't see her ex-husband's face from this position, but she heard the moment Marcus recognized what he was seeing, the scrape of a chair, footsteps approaching. "Maya?" Marcus's voice was exactly as she remembered, smooth when he wanted something, sharp when he didn't get it. "What the hell are you doing here?" She flinched involuntarily. Adrian's hand pressed more firmly against her back, steadying her. "I work here," Maya managed, hating how weak she sounded. "You work?" Marcus laughed, the sound ugly. "Jesus Christ, a waitress. This is what you left me for? To serve drinks to people better than you?" Heat flooded Maya's face. Shame and anger warred in her chest, but the shame was winning. Because wasn't he right? Wasn't this exactly what she'd become? "I think," Adrian said, his voice cutting through Marcus's laughter like a blade, "that you should return to your table." Marcus's attention snapped to the stranger. Maya watched her ex-husband take in Adrian's expensive suit, his confident posture, the casual way he touched Maya's back. Marcus's expression darkened. "Who the fuck are you?" "Someone who's asking nicely." Adrian's tone didn't rise, didn't sharpen. If anything, it got quieter, more dangerous. "Once," Maya and I are having a conversation. No. The single word carried absolute finality. You're not. Marcus stepped closer, jaw clenching in that way Maya knew too well. Her stomach twisted with familiar dread. She'd seen this before, the moment before Marcus lost control, before his fists started flying. But Adrian didn't move, didn't even tense. He simply stood there, one hand still resting against Maya's back, the other hanging loose at his side, and stared at Marcus with eyes that had gone flat and cold. The temperature in the immediate area seemed to drop 10 degrees. You really don't want to do this, Adrian said softly. Trust me. Something passed between the two men, some unspoken communication Maya couldn't read. But whatever Marcus saw in Adrian's face made him take half a step back. Maya, Marcus tried again, but his voice had lost some of its edge. We need to talk. About Lily. About... Don't. Maya found her voice, though it shook. Don't say her name. You don't get to say her name. She's my daughter. You signed away your rights. The words came out harder now, fueled by 4 years of pain and rage. You don't get to show up here and pretend you care about her, about us. You lost that right when you... She stopped herself before she said too much, before she gave him ammunition. Marcus's face flushed dark red. When I what? When I tried to keep our family together? When I tried to make you see reason? When you put me in the hospital, Maya said, her voice dropping to barely a whisper. Twice. The air went deathly still. Adrian's hand left Maya's back. He stepped forward, positioning himself fully between her and Marcus. And when he spoke, his voice carried a promise of violence so clear that nearby diners turned to look. You have 3 seconds to walk away, Adrian said. After that, I make you disappear. Not from this restaurant, from this city. Permanently. 1. Marcus blinked, clearly caught off guard by the sudden escalation. You can't just threaten... 2. Listen, I don't know who you think you are, but 3. Adrian moved. Maya didn't see exactly what happened. One moment Adrian was standing in front of her. The next, he had Marcus's wrist locked in his grip, bending it at an angle that made her ex-husband gasp in pain. Adrian leaned in close, his lips nearly touching Marcus's ear, and whispered something Maya couldn't hear. Whatever he said made the color drain from Marcus's face. When Adrian released him, Marcus stumbled backward, cradling his wrist. His eyes were wide, wild, darting between Adrian and Maya like he was seeing them both for the first time. I suggest you leave, Adrian said calmly, smoothing down his suit jacket. And I suggest you don't come back. To this restaurant. To this neighborhood. To anywhere Maya Carter might be. Are we clear? Marcus opened his mouth, closed it, then opened it again. Do you know who I work for? Do you have any idea the connections I have? Adrian smiled. It was the most terrifying expression Maya had ever seen on a human face. Yes, he said simply. I do. And they're nothing compared to mine. Ask around, Marcus. Ask who owns this restaurant. Ask who owns the building your office is in. Ask who your boss calls when he needs a problem solved. He paused. Then ask yourself if you really want to make this personal. The blood drained from Marcus's face completely. He took another step back, then another, his bravado crumbling like sand. Without another word, he turned and walked quickly toward the exit, nearly knocking over a waiter in his haste to leave. Maya watched him go, her entire body shaking so hard she had to grip the bar to stay upright. The restaurant had gone quiet. Every eye in the place was on them. Dennis was hurrying over, concern and anger warring on his face. But all Maya could focus on was the stranger standing beside her. Adrian, who had just made her ex-husband, her violent, controlling, terrifying ex-husband, run like a scared child. Adrian, who had just revealed himself to be someone far more dangerous than she'd imagined. Mr. Volkov, Dennis stammered, reaching them. I apologize for the disturbance. If there's anything... It's handled, Dennis. Adrian's voice was back to that smooth, controlled tone, like he hadn't just threatened to make a man disappear. But Maya's going to need the rest of the night off. Of course, absolutely. Whatever you need. Maya's head spun. I can't leave. I need the money. I need... Adrian turned to her, and the coldness in his eyes had melted into something softer. concerned even. You're in shock. You need to go home. I need to work, Maya insisted, even as her legs threatened to give out. I have rent. I have bills. I can't afford to lose a shift. You won't lose anything. Adrian pulled out his wallet, extracted several bills without looking at them, and handed them to Dennis. This covers her shift and tomorrow's. Tell her to take 2 days. Dennis took the money with trembling hands. Even through her shock, Maya could see it was far more than she would have made in 2 shifts, possibly more than she made in a week. That's too much, she protested weakly. I can't accept You can. You will. Adrian's hand returned to her back, gently but firmly guiding her toward the staff exit. Come on, I'm taking you home. I don't even know you. No, he agreed. But I know men like your ex-husband, and I know that when they run scared, they come back angry. So I'm making sure you get home safely. Maya wanted to argue, wanted to assert her independence, prove she could handle this herself. But the truth was, she was terrified. Her hands were still shaking, her breathing was still shallow, and the thought of walking to her car alone, of driving home alone, of being alone when Marcus decided to retaliate. Okay, she whispered. Adrian guided her through the kitchen, past the staring cooks and dishwashers, out into the cool night air of the back alley. A black car, sleek, expensive, the kind Maya had only seen in movies, idled at the curb. The driver, a huge man with a scar running down his left cheek, got out and opened the back door. Victor, Adrian said, take us to Maya's address. He glanced at her. What's your address? Maya rattled it off mechanically, her brain still trying to catch up with everything that had just happened. She slid into the car's leather interior, and Adrian followed, settling beside her with easy grace. The door closed. The outside world disappeared, and Maya Carter, struggling single mother and part-time waitress, found herself sitting next to a man who had just casually mentioned owning buildings and making people disappear. Who are you? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Adrian studied her for a long moment, those pale gray eyes seeing far too much. Someone who doesn't like bullies, he said finally. Someone who saw a woman in trouble and decided to help. People don't just help, not like that, not without wanting something. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. Smart girl. So what do you want? Right now? Adrian leaned back against the seat, his expression unreadable. I want to make sure you and your daughter are safe. Everything else can wait. Maya's breath caught. How do you know about Lily? Your ex-husband mentioned her name. You mentioned the hospital. His jaw tightened fractionally. It doesn't take a detective to piece together that pattern. The car pulled smoothly into traffic. Through the tinted windows, Maya watched the city slide by. Familiar streets suddenly looking strange and distant, like she was seeing them from another world. Maybe she was. The things you said to Marcus, she ventured, about owning buildings, about connections, was that real or were you just scaring him? What do you think? Maya looked at him, really looked, at the custom-tailored suit that probably cost more than her car, at the car they were sitting in, with its leather seats and tinted windows and driver who looked like he could break someone in half. At the way Dennis had called him Mr. Volkov, with that particular tone of fearful respect. I think, she said slowly, that you're someone important, someone powerful. She paused. Someone dangerous. Yes. No hesitation, no denial, just simple truth. Then why help me? You don't know me. I'm nobody. You're a woman who needed help, Adrian cut her off. And I was there to give it. It's that simple. Nothing's that simple. You're right. He turned to face her fully, and the intensity in his gaze made her breath catch. So let me be honest with you, Maya. I help you because I choose to. Because I saw a man threatening a woman in a public place and decided I didn't like it. Because I have the power to do something about it, and I'm using that power. You don't owe me anything. This isn't a transaction. It's a choice. But, he continued, his voice softening, if you're smart, and I think you are, you'll let me help you, because Marcus Carter isn't going to let this go. Men like him never do. They see women as property, as things they own, and when something they own tries to escape, they don't just walk away. Fear spiked through Maya's chest. He hasn't bothered me in months. The protective order means nothing if he's desperate enough. Adrian's expression darkened. I scared him tonight. Made him think twice. But fear fades. And when it does, he'll remember that he doesn't like being humiliated. Doesn't like being challenged. Doesn't like that you had the audacity to leave him and build a life without him. Maya's hands clenched in her lap. So what am I supposed to do? Run? Hide? Spend the rest of my life looking over my shoulder? No. The single word carried absolute certainty. You let me handle it. I don't understand. You don't know me. You don't know him. Why would you? Because I can. Adrian's voice dropped lower, more intense. Because I have resources and connections that most people can't imagine. Because making problems disappear is something I'm very, very good at. The way he said making problems disappear sent a chill down Maya's spine. This wasn't metaphorical. This wasn't exaggeration. This man was telling her, in very plain terms, that he could make Marcus vanish. I can't ask you to do that, Maya whispered. You're not asking. I'm offering. Mate. The car turned onto Maya's street, a rundown neighborhood where the streetlights flickered and chain-link fences separated one small house from another. The contrast between this and the world Adrian clearly inhabited couldn't have been starker. Victor pulled up in front of Maya's tiny rental house, peeling paint, overgrown yard, windows covered with bed sheets because she couldn't afford curtains. Shame burned through her. What must Adrian think, seeing how she lived? But when she glanced at him, there was no judgment in his expression, only careful assessment. This is where you live? He asked. Yes. She lifted her chin defiantly. It's not much, but it's ours. It's safe. It's got a broken lock on the back door, Adrian interrupted. The front window doesn't close all the way. The fence is 3 feet tall. A child could climb it, and there's no security system. He paused. Maya, this isn't safe. Not anymore. I can't afford anywhere better, she said, hating how defensive she sounded. This is what I can manage on a waitress's salary. I'm doing my best. I know you are. His hand found hers again, that same steady grip. And I'm going to help you do better. Before Maya could respond, the front door burst open. Mrs. Chen stood on the porch, Lily clutched against her side. The elderly woman's eyes were wide with fear. Miss Maya, Mrs. Chen called out. A man was here, looking for you, banging on the door. I didn't let him in, but he was angry. So angry, he only left 10 minutes ago. The bottom dropped out of Maya's stomach. Marcus had been here. At her house, near her daughter. She was out of the car and running before Adrian could stop her, her feet pounding up the cracked sidewalk. Lily? Lily, baby, are you okay? Her daughter looked up with those two solemn eyes, and Maya's heart shattered all over again. Lily shouldn't know fear like this. Shouldn't have to hide from her own father. I was scared, Mama, Lily said quietly. But Mrs. Chen locked all the doors. Maya scooped her daughter into her arms, holding her tight enough to hurt. I know, baby, I know. I'm so sorry. Maya. She turned. Adrian had followed her onto the porch, Victor standing just behind him like a silent shadow. In the flickering streetlight, Adrian's face had gone hard again. Dangerous. Pack a bag, he said. You and Lily. Enough for a few days. What? No, I can't just... He knows where you live. He knows where you work. And now he knows that I'm involved, which makes him unpredictable. Adrian's voice brooked no argument. You're not safe here. Not tonight. Where am I supposed to go? I don't have money for a hotel. I don't have... You have me. He stepped closer, his presence somehow both threatening and comforting. I have a property, secure, protected. You and Lily will stay there until I've handled the situation. Maya's pride reared up. I don't need you to save me. No, Adrian agreed. You need you to save your daughter. And right now, the smart play is accepting help from someone who can actually provide it. He was right. Maya hated it, but he was right. She looked down at Lily, at her daughter's frightened face, and made her choice. Okay, she whispered. Okay, but just for tonight, until I figure out what to do. Adrian's smile was grim. We'll see. But 15 minutes later, Maya found herself in the back of Adrian's car again, this time with Lily buckled in beside her and a hastily packed duffel bag at her feet. Mrs. Chen had been paid for the evening and told to go home. The house was locked up. for what little good that would do. Lily was quiet, staring at the car's interior with wide eyes. She'd never been in a vehicle this nice. Hell, Maya had never been in a vehicle this nice. "Mama?" Lily whispered. "Who's the man?" "His name is Adrian," Maya said softly. "He's helping us." "Is he your friend?" Was he? Maya didn't know what to call this strange, dangerous man who had inserted himself into her life with such sudden totality. "Yes," she said finally, because it was easier than the truth. "He's my friend." Adrian, sitting in the front passenger seat, glanced back at them in the rear-view mirror. His eyes met Maya's, and something passed between them, an acknowledgement of the lie, of the truth beneath it. He wasn't her friend. He was something far more complicated. The car drove through the city, leaving behind Maya's neighborhood and entering areas she recognized from driving past, but had never actually visited. The buildings got taller, the streets got cleaner. The people walking by wore clothes that cost more than her monthly rent. Finally, Victor pulled up in front of a high-rise apartment building, all glass and steel and modern architecture. A doorman stood at attention. Security cameras covered every angle. "Come on," Adrian said, opening the door and offering his hand to help Lily out. Her daughter took it without hesitation, and something about seeing Lily's small hand and Adrian's large one made Maya's chest ache. They rode the elevator up in silence. Lily pressed against Maya's leg, overwhelmed by the mirrored walls and soft music. The elevator climbed, past the 10th floor, past the 20th, all the way to the top. The doors opened directly into a penthouse apartment. Maya's breath caught. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the entire city. Modern furniture in blacks and grays filled the space. Original artwork hung on the walls. The kitchen gleamed with stainless steel appliances. This wasn't just wealth. This was power. "Guest bedroom is down the hall," Adrian said, shrugging off his suit jacket. "Second door on the right. There's a bathroom attached. Lily can have the bed. You can take the couch in there if you'd prefer, or there's another guest room next door." Maya stood frozen in the entrance, still clutching their duffel bag. "I can't stay here. This is too much. This is—" "Safe," Adrian interrupted. "This is safe. And right now, that's all that matters." Lily tugged on Maya's sleeve. "Mama, I'm tired." Of course she was. It was past 10 o'clock, and her daughter's bedtime was 8:30. Maya swallowed her pride and nodded. "Come on, baby. Let's get you ready for bed." She followed Adrian's directions down a hallway lined with more expensive art, found the guest bedroom, which was bigger than her entire living room at home, and helped Lily change into her pajamas. Her daughter was asleep almost before her head hit the pillow, exhausted by fear and confusion. Maya sat on the edge of the bed for a long moment, watching Lily sleep, wondering what the hell she'd just gotten them into. When she finally emerged from the bedroom, she found Adrian in the kitchen, pouring 2 glasses of wine. He'd removed his tie and rolled up his sleeves, revealing forearms corded with muscle and marked with faded scars. "You don't have to drink it," he said, sliding one glass toward her. "But you look like you could use it." Maya picked up the glass, took a sip, and nearly choked. Whatever this was, it tasted expensive, smooth, nothing like the $5 bottles she occasionally splurged on. "Thank you," she managed, "for all of this. For tonight, for—" Her voice cracked. "I don't know how to thank you." "Don't thank me yet." Adrian leaned against the counter, studying her over the rim of his glass. "We need to talk about what happens next. I go home tomorrow. I go back to work. I figure out how to deal with Marcus on my own." "That's a terrible plan." "It's the only plan I have," Maya shot back. "I can't hide here forever. I have a life, a job, responsibilities. And Marcus has your address, your workplace, your schedule." Adrian set down his glass. "He's already proven he'll violate the protective order. What do you think happens the next time he catches you alone?" Maya's hands trembled. She set down her own glass before she dropped it. "I'll call the police. And they'll show up 20 minutes too late, take a statement, and maybe arrest him. Maybe. Then he'll post bail, and you'll be right back where you started. Except now he'll be even angrier." "So what am I supposed to do?" Maya demanded, frustration and fear bleeding into anger. "Let you control my life? Become some kind of charity case for a man I don't even know?" "I'm not asking to control your life." Adrian moved closer, and Maya fought the urge to step back. I'm offering to eliminate a threat, permanently. There it was again. That promise of violence delivered in such a calm, matter-of-fact tone. You keep saying that, Maya whispered. Eliminate. Handle. Make problems disappear. What does that actually mean? Adrian held her gaze. It means your ex-husband will never bother you again, never come near you or Lily, never threaten you or hurt you or make you feel afraid. By doing what? Whatever's necessary. Maya's heart pounded. I can't ask you to hurt someone for me. I can't be responsible for... You're not asking. I'm choosing. There's a difference. He paused. And I'm not going to hurt him, Maya. I'm simply going to make it very clear that touching you again would be the last mistake he ever makes. Most men, when faced with real consequences, suddenly become very reasonable. And if he doesn't? Then I handle it. Adrian's voice dropped lower, colder. And you don't have to think about it ever again. Maya stared at this man, this stranger who had somehow become her protector, her savior, her potential nightmare. She should be terrified, should run, should take Lily and disappear and never look back. But she was so tired of running, so tired of being afraid, so tired of fighting this battle alone. Why? She asked quietly. Why are you really doing this? For the first time since they'd met, Adrian seemed to hesitate. His expression flickered, something vulnerable passing across his face before the mask returned. Because I can, he said finally. Because I have the power to help, and I'm choosing to use it. Because... He stopped himself. Does it matter? Yes. They stood in silence, the city glittering outside the windows, the distance between them somehow both vast and negligible. My mother, Adrian said quietly, was killed by a man who thought he owned her. I was 12 years old when I found her body. His jaw tightened. I've spent the last 23 years making sure men like that face consequences. So yes, Maya, this matters to me. More than you know. The confession hung in the air between them, raw and real. Maya's anger drained away, replaced by something softer, something that felt dangerously like trust. I'm sorry, she whispered. Don't be. Adrian straightened, the vulnerability disappearing as quickly as it had appeared. Just let me help you. That's all I'm asking. Maya thought about Lily, sleeping peacefully in the next room. About the fear in her daughter's eyes when Mrs. Chen had told them about Marcus banging on their door. About the years of looking over her shoulder, jumping at shadows, wondering when he would come back. Okay, she said, help me. Adrian's smile was sharp and satisfied. Good. Now go to bed. Tomorrow, we start fixing this. What are you going to do? What I do best. He picked up his wine glass, his expression unreadable. Solve problems. Maya wanted to ask more questions, wanted to demand details, wanted to know exactly what she'd just agreed to. But exhaustion crashed over her like a wave, and suddenly all she wanted was to sleep, to close her eyes and pretend, just for a few hours, that everything was going to be okay. Good night, Adrian, she said softly. Good night, Maya. She walked back to the guest room, checked on Lily one more time, then curled up on the couch with a blanket Adrian had left for her. Through the cracked door, she could see the city lights twinkling in the distance. Somewhere out there, Marcus was probably drinking, raging, planning his revenge. But here, in this fortress of glass and steel, protected by a man who spoke of violence like other people spoke of the weather, Maya felt something she hadn't felt in years. Safe. It wouldn't last. She knew that. Nothing ever did. But for tonight, wrapped in expensive blankets in a stranger's home, with her daughter sleeping peacefully nearby and a dangerous man standing guard, Maya Carter let herself believe in the impossible. That maybe, just maybe, she could finally stop running. Morning light filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows, painting the penthouse in shades of gold and amber. Maya woke disoriented, her neck stiff from the unfamiliar couch, her mind struggling to piece together where she was and why. Then memory crashed back. Marcus at the restaurant, Adrian's intervention, the threat at her house, this impossible sanctuary. She sat up slowly, listening. The apartment was silent except for the distant hum of the city below. For a moment, she let herself pretend this was her life, that she belonged in spaces like this, that safety was her default state instead of a rare luxury. The illusion shattered when Lily padded into the room, still wearing her worn pajamas with the frayed hem. "Mama, where are we?" Maya pulled her daughter close, breathing in the familiar scent of her strawberry shampoo. "We're staying with a friend, remember? Just for a little while." "The man from last night?" "Yes, Adrian." Lily considered this with the seriousness only a 6-year-old could muster. "He has a nice house." "He does." "Are we safe here?" The question hit Maya like a physical blow. Children shouldn't have to ask things like that. Shouldn't have to calculate safety and danger like adults calculated finances. "Yes, baby," Maya whispered fiercely. "We're safe here." She hoped it was true. They found the kitchen together, Maya hesitating before opening the massive refrigerator. Inside was everything: fresh fruit, organic milk, expensive cheeses, ingredients she couldn't even name. She pulled out eggs and bread, determined to make breakfast rather than simply taking advantage of Adrian's hospitality more than necessary. She was scrambling eggs when Adrian emerged from somewhere deeper in the penthouse. He wore different clothes, charcoal slacks and a black shirt, no tie, but somehow looked just as dangerous as he had the night before. His hair was damp from a shower, and Maya caught the scent of expensive cologne as he moved past her to the coffee maker. "You didn't have to cook," he said. "I needed to do something." Maya kept her eyes on the pan. "I'm not good at sitting still." "I've noticed." There was something almost amused in his tone. "How did you sleep?" "I didn't, mostly." "Worried about Marcus?" "Worried about everything." She plated the eggs, handed one to Lily, and took one for herself. Adrian made no move to take the third plate, and Maya realized he was waiting. "You should eat." "I don't usually eat breakfast." "When's the last time you ate anything?" His pause was answer enough. Maya pushed the plate toward him firmly. "Eat. I'm not going to be the only one taking things from you." Something shifted in Adrian's expression, surprise maybe, or appreciation. He took the plate without further argument and leaned against the counter, studying her while he ate. Lily watched him with open curiosity. "Are you rich?" "Lily," Maya's face burned. "That's not polite." "It's fine." Adrian's lips quirked. "Yes, I am." "How did you get rich?" "Lily, I made smart investments," Adrian said calmly, "and I worked very hard." It wasn't a complete lie, Maya supposed, though she suspected the truth was considerably darker. But Lily seemed satisfied with the answer, returning her attention to her eggs. Adrian's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, his expression hardening fractionally. "I need to make some calls. Victor will stay with you today." "Victor?" "My driver from last night. He's also my head of security." Adrian set down his empty plate. "He'll make sure you and Lily are safe while I handle some business." Maya's stomach tightened. What kind of business? The kind that ensures Marcus won't be a problem anymore. "Adrian," he moved closer, and Maya found herself backed against the counter. This close, she could see the silver flecks in his gray eyes, the faint scar cutting through his left eyebrow, the hard set of his jaw. "Trust me," he said quietly. "I know what I'm doing." "That's what scares me." "Good." His hand rose, and for a moment Maya thought he might touch her face. Instead, he simply gestured toward Lily. "Take care of her. I'll be back this evening." Then he was gone, leaving Maya alone with her daughter, and a security guard who looked like he could break concrete with his bare hands. Victor proved to be surprisingly gentle despite his intimidating appearance. He made hot chocolate for Lily, complete with marshmallows he produced from seemingly nowhere. He showed them how to work the television's complicated remote. He even found coloring books and crayons in one of the spare rooms, though Maya couldn't imagine Adrian keeping such things on hand. "Mr. Volkov bought them this morning," Victor explained in his heavily accented English when Maya asked. "Had them delivered at 6 a.m. He thought the little one might need something to do." Maya's chest tightened. Adrian had thought of Lily, had arranged entertainment for a 6-year-old he'd just met. It was such a small thing, but it spoke to a consideration she hadn't expected from a man who spoke so casually about making people disappear. The day passed in strange suspension. Maya tried calling work, only to find that Dennis had already taken her off the schedule for the week, with pay. She checked her bank account on her phone and nearly dropped it when she saw the deposit. $5,000, more than she made in 2 months. She called Dennis back immediately. I can't accept this money. It's too much. I didn't earn. Mr. Volkov was very insistent, Dennis interrupted, his voice tight with something that might have been fear. He said you needed time off, and he was compensating you appropriately. I suggest you don't argue with him, Maya. Men like that don't appreciate having their generosity questioned. Men like that. Maya wondered exactly who Dennis thought Adrian was. Wondered how much the restaurant manager actually knew about the man who apparently owned the building. She spent the afternoon watching Lily color, her mind spinning in endless circles. What was Adrian doing right now? Where was Marcus? What did handling the situation actually entail? Every time her phone rang, she jumped, expecting bad news, expecting the police, expecting something to shatter this fragile bubble of safety. But nothing happened. The hours crawled by in peaceful, unnerving silence. Evening fell across the city, painting the skyline in shades of purple and orange. Victor ordered dinner from a restaurant Maya recognized but had never been able to afford. Italian, with real meatballs and fresh pasta that Lily devoured enthusiastically. They were finishing when the elevator chimed. Adrian stepped out, looking tired but satisfied. His expression softened when he saw them at the dining table, something almost domestic crossing his features. "Did you have a good day?" he asked Lily. She nodded enthusiastically. "Victor showed me a magic trick with cards." "Did he?" Adrian's gaze flicked to his security chief, something unreadable passing between them. "That's good." Lily yawned, rubbing her eyes. Maya recognized the signs. Her daughter would be asleep within the hour if she didn't keep her moving. "Time for bed, baby." "But Mama..." "No arguments. Come on." She shepherded Lily to the guest room, helped her brush her teeth and change into pajamas, then sat on the edge of the bed while her daughter fought sleep valiantly. "Mama?" Lily's voice was drowsy. "Can we stay here forever?" Maya's heart cracked. "No, baby. This isn't our home." "Why not? It's nice here. And the man is nice. And I'm not scared." "I'm not scared." 4 words that shouldn't have meant as much as they did. "I know, sweetheart. But we have our own place. Our own life." "I liked our old house better anyway," Lily mumbled, already half asleep, "before Daddy came. When it was just us and we were happy." Maya waited until Lily's breathing evened out before allowing herself to cry. Silent tears that she wiped away furiously, ashamed of her weakness. She'd promised herself years ago that she would be strong, that she wouldn't break, that she would give Lily the life she deserved. But sitting in a stranger's penthouse because she couldn't keep her daughter safe in their own home, Maya felt anything but strong. When she emerged, Adrian was alone on the balcony, the city spread out before him like a constellation. Maya hesitated, then slid open the glass door and joined him. "She's asleep?" "Yes." Maya leaned against the railing, careful to keep distance between them. "What did you do today?" "I had a conversation with Marcus." Her heart stopped. "You saw him?" "Not personally, but people who work for me did." Adrian's voice was calm, measured. "They explained the situation to him, made it clear that pursuing you further would be inadvisable." "And?" "And he's relocating. Out of state. He's been offered a very generous severance package from his current employer, contingent on his immediate departure and his signing of a legally binding agreement to have no further contact with you or Lily." Maya's mind reeled. You can't force someone to leave the state. That's not legal." Adrian's smile was sharp. "No, it's not. But it is effective. Marcus was given a choice: take the money and leave, or face significantly more unpleasant consequences. He chose wisely." "What consequences?" "You don't need to know the details." "Yes, I do." Maya turned to face him fully, anger rising. "You're making decisions about my life, about my daughter's life. I deserve to know what you're doing." Adrian studied her for a long moment, something like approval flickering in his eyes. "Fair enough. Marcus has been engaging in some questionable financial practices at his job. Embezzlement, specifically. Small amounts, but consistent. I now have documentation of every transaction." Maya's stomach dropped. "You're blackmailing him." "I'm providing him with an incentive to make better choices." Adrian's tone didn't change. "He can leave quietly, or he can stay and face criminal charges. It's his decision." "But you manufactured the evidence?" No. The word was sharp. The evidence is real. Marcus has been stealing from his employer for 18 months. I simply found proof of something he was already doing. Maya's head spun. Part of her was horrified at the manipulation, the power play, the casual way Adrian had reached into Marcus's life and torn it apart. But another part, a darker, angrier part, felt savage satisfaction. Marcus had hurt her, had terrorized her, had made her daughter afraid in her own home. Maybe he deserved to lose everything. When is he leaving? She asked quietly. His flight is tomorrow afternoon. By this time tomorrow night, he'll be in Arizona starting a new job at a company that doesn't know his history. Adrian paused. You're free, Maya. He can't hurt you anymore. Free. The word hung in the air between them, impossibly large and impossibly fragile. Just like that? Maya whispered. One day and it's over? Just like that. She wanted to believe him, wanted to accept that after 4 years of fear, one man's intervention could fix everything. But life had taught her that nothing was ever that simple. What if he comes back? What if he changes his mind? He won't. Adrian's certainty was absolute. Because he knows that if he does, I'll make good on my promises. And I promise you, Maya, what I've done so far is mercy compared to what I'm capable of. The threat should have terrified her. Instead, it made her feel safer than she had in years. Why? The question burst out before she could stop it. Why go to all this trouble for someone you just met? Why risk whatever you risk to help me? Adrian turned away, looking out over the city. For a moment, Maya thought he wouldn't answer. Then he spoke, his voice low and rough. I told you about my mother. What I didn't tell you is that I watched her suffer for years before he finally killed her. Watched her make excuses, watched her believe his promises to change, watched her try to protect me while destroying herself. His hands tightened on the railing. No one helped her. No one intervened. Everyone just looked the other way because it was easier than getting involved. Adrian, I swore I would never be that person, he continued, as if she hadn't spoken. Never be someone who sees a woman in danger and does nothing. So yes, I help when I can, however I can. That's not altruism, Maya. It's penance. The confession hung heavy in the air. Maya took a step closer, drawn by something she couldn't name. Up close, she could see the tension in his shoulders, the set of his jaw, the way he held himself like a man expecting attack. Your mother's death wasn't your fault, she said softly. You were a child. I know. His laugh was bitter. But knowing something intellectually and feeling it emotionally are very different things. Maya understood that better than she could say. How many times had people told her Marcus's abuse wasn't her fault? That she didn't deserve it? That she should just leave? Easy words that meant nothing when you were trapped in the situation, unable to see a way out. Thank you, she said quietly, for helping me, for helping Lily, for being the person who did something instead of looking away. Adrian turned to face her, and the intensity in his gaze stole her breath. You don't have to thank me. Yes, I do. They stood close enough that Maya could feel the warmth radiating from his body, could see the way his chest rose and fell with each breath. Something electric hummed in the air between them. Not quite attraction, not quite danger, but something that combined both into something new, something terrifying. Maya took a step back, breaking the spell. I should go to bed. Tomorrow I need to figure out what comes next. You don't have to leave, Adrian said quickly. You and Lily can stay as long as you need. I can't do that. This isn't... She gestured helplessly at the penthouse. This isn't my life. It's yours, and I've already taken enough. You haven't taken anything. I've given it freely. That's not how the world works. Maya's voice hardened. People don't give without expecting something back. So what do you want from me, Adrian? What's the price for all this help? His expression shuddered. There's no price. Everyone has a price. Everyone wants something. Not from you? He moved closer, and Maya forced herself not to retreat. I don't want your money because you don't have any. I don't want your body because I'm not the kind of man who trades protection for sex. I don't want your gratitude because, frankly, I don't need it. What I want is for you and your daughter to be safe. That's it. That's all. I don't believe you. Then don't. Adrian's voice dropped lower, almost gentle. But stay anyway. At least until you find somewhere else. somewhere actually secure, because going back to that house with the broken lock and the 3-foot fence, that's not an option anymore. It's the only option I have. No, it's the only option you think you have. There's a difference. He paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. I own several properties in this city. Apartments, mostly. I could arrange for you to rent one. Something safe, something affordable. Would that be acceptable? Pride warred with practicality in Maya's chest. I can't afford anything in a safe neighborhood. You know that. Then I'll subsidize it. That's charity. That's good business. Adrian's tone remained calm, reasonable. I have empty units that cost me money to maintain. You need housing. We make an arrangement that works for both of us. You pay what you can afford and I get a responsible tenant. Everyone wins. It was too good, too easy, too much like a trap disguised as generosity. But Maya was tired of living in fear, tired of worrying every night that Marcus would break down her door, tired of apologizing to Lily for the life they lived. I need to think about it, she said finally. Take your time. Adrian stepped back, giving her space. You have until Marcus's flight tomorrow. After that, you'll need to decide. Maya nodded, her mind already spinning with implications and consequences. She retreated to the guest room, checked on Lily one more time, then collapsed onto the couch with her head in her hands. What was she doing? Accepting help from a man who admitted to blackmail and threats? A man who casually rearranged people's lives to suit his purposes? A man who spoke of violence like other people spoke of the weather? But he'd also been kind to Lily. Had bought coloring books at 6 in the morning, had looked at Maya like she was worth protecting instead of something to be used. She didn't know what to believe. Didn't know who Adrian Volkov really was beneath the expensive suits and casual power. Didn't know if she was making the smartest decision of her life or the most dangerous. All she knew was that for the first time in 4 years, she felt like she could breathe, and maybe that was worth the risk. Maya woke the next morning to find Adrian already gone. Victor explained that his boss had business to attend to, but would return that evening. In the meantime, Maya and Lily were free to stay, to use the apartment, to help themselves to anything they needed. It felt surreal, like playing house in someone else's life. Maya spent the morning on her phone, scrolling through apartment listings she couldn't afford and job postings that wouldn't pay enough. The math never worked. It never had. Even with 2 jobs, she'd barely been able to cover rent and basic expenses. Adding childcare on top of that? Impossible. She was still scrolling when her phone rang. An unknown number. Her first instinct was to ignore it. Unknown numbers meant bill collectors or worse. But something made her answer. Ms. Carter? A woman's voice, professional and crisp. This is Jennifer Walsh from Sterling Property Management. I understand you're looking for an apartment. Maya's heart skipped. Who gave you my number? A mutual acquaintance suggested you might be interested in one of our available units. A 2-bedroom in the Riverside district. The building has security, a playground for children, and it's walking distance to several good schools. The Riverside district. Maya had driven through it once, marveling at the clean streets and safe parks. It was the kind of neighborhood she'd dreamed about, but never imagined affording. How much is the rent? She asked, already knowing the answer would crush her. $1,200 a month, utilities included. Maya nearly dropped the phone. $1,200? In Riverside, that was impossible. Units in that area went for at least twice that. Is this a joke? No, ma'am. The owner is offering a significant discount to qualified tenants. You'd need to maintain employment and pass a background check, but based on the recommendation we received, I don't anticipate any issues. A pause. Would you like to schedule a viewing? Maya's mind raced. Adrian. This had to be Adrian's doing. The mutual acquaintance who'd given them her information. The owner offering a discount. It was too convenient, too perfectly timed. It was also exactly what she needed. Yes, Maya heard herself say. Yes, I'd like to see it. They arranged a time for that afternoon. When Maya hung up, she found Lily watching her with wide eyes. Are we getting a new house, Mama? Maybe, baby. Maybe. The viewing exceeded every expectation Maya had tried not to build. The apartment was perfect, bright, clean, recently renovated with hardwood floors and modern appliances. The 2nd bedroom was bigger than the one in their current house. The building had a security system that actually worked. The playground was visible from the living room window. Jennifer Walsh walked Maya through every detail, professional and efficient. She never mentioned Adrian by name, never acknowledged anything unusual about the arrangement, but Maya saw the truth in the way the woman carefully avoided certain questions, in the lease agreement that had been pre-filled with terms too generous to be real. "I need to think about it," Maya said, even though every cell in her body screamed to sign immediately. "Of course, take your time." Jennifer handed her a business card. "But I should mention we have other interested parties. I can hold it for 24 hours, but after that..." The implication was clear. Sign now or lose this chance. Maya took Lily's hand and walked slowly back to Adrian's building, her mind churning. She knew what she should do. Refuse the apartment, refuse Adrian's help, figure out her own solution through her own means. That was what independent, self-sufficient women did. That was what pride demanded. But pride didn't keep you safe. Pride didn't put a roof over your daughter's head. Pride didn't make the monsters go away. When Adrian returned that evening, Maya was waiting for him. "The apartment in Riverside," she said without preamble. "That was you." Yes, no denial, no apology. Simple acknowledgement. $1,200 a month is below market value, substantially below. The owner wanted a reliable tenant more than maximum profit. "You're the owner." Adrian's smile was slight. "I own many properties. That happens to be one of them." "So you're my landlord now. That's the arrangement." "If you choose to sign the lease, yes." He moved to the bar, poured himself a drink. "But there's no pressure, Maya. If you prefer to find something else, I'll help you look. If you want to stay here longer while you figure things out, that's fine too. The choice is yours." "Is it?" Maya heard the bitterness in her own voice. "Because it feels like you're orchestrating my entire life. New apartment, paid time off from work, Marcus magically disappearing. I don't get to make choices. I just get to react to the ones you've already made for me." Adrian set down his glass carefully. "You're right." The admission caught Maya off guard. "What?" "You're right. I have been making choices for you, arranging things, using my resources to solve your problems without asking if that's what you wanted." He turned to face her fully. "I'm used to fixing things, Maya. It's what I do, what I've always done. But that doesn't make it right. So why do it? Because I thought it was helping. Because I saw someone drowning and threw them a life preserver without asking if they wanted to be saved." His jaw tightened. "But you're not drowning, are you? You're swimming. It's hard and you're tired, but you were handling it. Until I came along and decided I knew better." Maya's anger deflated slightly. "I wasn't handling it. Marcus showing up at my house proves that." "You were surviving. That's more than handling. That's strength." Adrian moved closer, his expression intense. "So here's what I'm offering now, without assumptions or arrangements. The apartment is available if you want it. At market rate, not the discounted price. You find a way to afford it, or you don't. I'll help you look at other options if you prefer, but the choice is genuinely yours. I won't push. I won't manipulate. I'll simply be available if you need me." Maya studied him, searching for deception, for hidden motives, for the trap she was sure existed somewhere in his words. But all she saw was genuine regret and something that looked almost like respect. "And Marcus," she asked, "what happens with him?" "He's gone. That part is done. He took the deal, got on the plane, and as of 3 hours ago, he's someone else's problem." Adrian paused. "The protective order still stands. If he violates it, the criminal charges are already filed and waiting. He'd be arrested the moment he set foot back in this state." "You really did it. You really made him go away." "I told you I would." Maya's legs suddenly felt weak. She sank onto the couch, the reality of it finally hitting her. Marcus was gone. Actually, truly gone. Not just temporarily. Not just until he got angry enough to come back. Gone. "I don't know what to do now," she whispered. "I've spent so long being afraid that I don't remember how to be anything else." Adrian sat beside her, careful to maintain distance. "You learn, day by day, step by step. You wake up tomorrow and realize he's not coming. Then you wake up the next day and realize it again. Eventually the fear fades." "Does it, for you?" His smile was sad. I'm not the right person to ask about healthy coping mechanisms. Despite everything, Maya almost laughed. Fair enough. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, the city lights twinkling outside the windows. Lily was already asleep in the guest room, exhausted from the day's excitement. It was just Maya and Adrian, two damaged people trying to figure out what came next. I want the apartment, Maya said finally, but at market rate, and I'll pay you back for the money you've already given me. It might take a while, but no. Adrian, the money I gave you was compensation for time off, which you needed. That's not a loan, that's payment. His voice was firm. But if it makes you feel better, consider it an advance on future rent. You can live rent-free for the first few months until it evens out. Maya wanted to argue, wanted to maintain her independence, but the math worked in her favor this way, and she was tired of making things harder than they needed to be. Okay, she said quietly. Thank you. Don't thank me, just... He hesitated, seeming to search for words. Just let yourself be okay. That's all I want. What about you? The question surprised Maya as much as it seemed to surprise Adrian. What do you want? For yourself, I mean. His expression shuddered. That's complicated. Everything about you is complicated. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. Fair enough. Maya shifted to face him more fully, emboldened by exhaustion and emotion. The things you do, the way you talk about making people disappear and owning half the city, that's not legal business, is it? No. Simple honesty. It's not. Are you going to tell me what you actually do? Do you really want to know? Maya considered that. Did she? Knowing would make her complicit in some way, would tie her to whatever darkness Adrian inhabited, would make it impossible to maintain the fiction that he was just a generous stranger. But she already knew, didn't she? Had known from the moment he'd gripped Marcus's wrist and made her ex-husband go pale with fear. Had known from the way people reacted to his name, from the casual way he mentioned owning buildings, from the effortless way he'd rearranged Marcus's entire life. Adrian Volkov wasn't just wealthy. He was powerful. And that power came from places most people didn't want to look. Yes, she said. I want to know. Adrian studied her for a long moment, those pale gray eyes seeing too much. Then he stood, moved to the window, and spoke with his back to her. I run an organization, multiple businesses, some legitimate, most not. Import-export, real estate, financial services. We operate in gray areas and sometimes black ones. I employ people. I solve problems. I make money. He paused. People call me many things: crime boss, mafia, kingpin. None of those terms are entirely accurate, but they're close enough. Maya's heart hammered. She'd suspected, but hearing it stated so plainly was different. Have you killed people? Yes. Recently? Not in several years. I've moved away from that kind of work. But you still do illegal things. Yes. He turned to face her, his expression unreadable. I'm not a good man, Maya. I've done things I'm not proud of. Things that would horrify you if you knew the details. But I'm also not the monster you're probably imagining. I have rules, lines I don't cross. There are people and organizations far worse than me, believe it or not. That's not exactly a ringing endorsement. No, it's not. Adrian's voice softened. Which is why I'm telling you now, before you sign that lease, before you tie your life to mine in any way, you need to understand what you're accepting, who you're accepting help from. Because once you know, you can't unknow it. Maya's mind spun. She should run, should grab Lily and disappear and never look back. That was the smart choice, the safe choice. But she'd tried safe. She'd tried doing everything right, marrying young, having a child, building a life according to all the rules. And it had landed her in an abusive marriage, barely scraping by, terrified every day. Maybe safe was overrated. If I take the apartment, she said slowly, am I in danger? Will people come after me because of you? No. The building is secure, and you're not connected to my business in any way. As far as anyone knows, you're just another tenant. And Marcus? Is he in danger? Only if he's stupid enough to come back. Adrian's expression hardened. Then yes, he'll be in significant danger. Maya absorbed that. She should feel guilty, probably. should be horrified that she'd essentially sicked a criminal on her ex-husband. But all she felt was relief. "I want the apartment," she said. "I want to move forward. I want to give Lily a safe home and a better life. And if that means accepting help from someone who operates in gray areas," she met Adrian's gaze steadily. "Then I can live with that." Something shifted in Adrian's expression. Surprise, respect, something warmer that he quickly masked. "You're sure?" "No, but I'm doing it anyway." His smile was genuine this time, reaching his eyes. "Then tomorrow, we'll sign the lease. You and Lily can move in whenever you're ready." "Thank you." The words felt inadequate for everything he'd done, everything he'd offered. For all of it. "Don't thank me yet. You might change your mind when you see how demanding I am as a landlord." Despite everything, Maya laughed. It felt strange, that laugh. Foreign, like a muscle she'd forgotten how to use. But it also felt good. That night, lying on the couch in the guest room with Lily sleeping peacefully nearby, Maya allowed herself to imagine a different future. One where she and her daughter lived in a safe apartment in a good neighborhood, where Marcus was a distant memory instead of a constant threat, where she had enough money to not just survive, but live. It wasn't the future she'd planned, wasn't the fairy tale she'd dreamed about as a young girl. It came with complications and compromises and ties to a world she didn't fully understand. But it was hers, her choice, her risk, her chance. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. 3 weeks passed like a dream Maya kept expecting to wake from. The apartment in Riverside became home faster than she'd thought possible. Lily had her own room painted soft lavender, with a bed that didn't squeak and a window that overlooked the playground. Maya's room was smaller, but hers, truly hers, with a lock on the door that actually worked, and neighbors who smiled instead of averting their eyes. The building had a security system that required key cards for entry, cameras in every hallway, and a doorman named Carlos who learned their names within days. Safety felt like a luxury Maya was still learning to accept. She'd returned to work at Meridian's, but the dynamic had shifted. Dennis treated her with careful respect now, never pushing too hard about shifts or schedules. The other servers whispered when they thought she couldn't hear, speculating about her connection to the mysterious Mr. Volkov, who owned the building. Maya ignored them. Let them whisper. Let them wonder. She had bigger concerns, like the fact that Adrian Volkov had become a constant presence in her life. Not physically. He was too busy for that, disappearing for days at a time on business he never fully explained. But he called. Texted to check that she and Lily were settling in. Sent Victor to fix a leaky faucet before Maya even mentioned it. Arranged for a grocery delivery when he somehow knew her refrigerator was running low. It should have felt invasive, this attention. Instead, it felt like being seen, like mattering to someone who had the power to do something about it. Maya told herself not to get used to it. Told herself this was temporary, that Adrian's interest would fade once the novelty wore off. Told herself 100 different lies to protect against the truth already taking root in her chest. She was starting to care about him. It was a Thursday evening when everything changed. Maya had just gotten Lily to bed and was settling onto her couch with a cup of tea when her phone rang. Adrian's name lit up the screen. "Hello?" "Maya." His voice sounded strained, rough in a way she'd never heard before. "I need to talk to you. Can I come over?" Her heart kicked into overdrive. "Is something wrong? Is it Marcus?" "No, nothing like that." A pause. "But it's important. Please." 20 minutes later, Maya heard the knock. She opened the door to find Adrian looking more disheveled than she'd ever seen him. His suit jacket was missing, his tie loosened, his dark hair mussed like he'd been running his hands through it. But it was his eyes that caught her attention. Those pale gray eyes that usually held such control now burned with something desperate. "Come in," she said quietly, stepping aside. Adrian entered but didn't sit. Instead, he paced her small living room like a caged animal, energy radiating off him in waves. Maya waited, her tea forgotten, watching this powerful man unravel in her space. "I'm leaving," he said finally, the words bursting out. "The business, the organization, all of it. I'm getting out." Maya's breath caught. "What?" "I've been planning it for months, years really. Building legitimate businesses, creating distance, setting up succession." He stopped pacing, turned to face her. "But it's accelerating now. Something's happened. Someone's made a move that forces my hand." I don't understand. What kind of move? Adrian's jaw clenched. There's a man, Dmitry Kozlov. He's been trying to expand into my territory for the past year. We've had an understanding, a balance of power. But he's decided that understanding doesn't serve him anymore. He paused. 3 days ago, 2 of my warehouses were hit. Products stolen, people hurt. It was a message. Maya's hands started to shake. What kind of message? That he wants what I have, and he's willing to go to war to get it. Adrian moved closer, and Maya could see the tension in every line of his body. I've been trying to leave this world cleanly, to transition my operations to people I trust, to walk away without violence. But Dmitry won't let that happen. He sees my exit as weakness, as opportunity. So what are you going to do? What I should have done years ago. His voice dropped lower, more dangerous. I'm accelerating my timeline, dismantling everything, selling what I can, burning what I can't. In 3 months, maybe less, Adrian Volkov, the crime boss, won't exist anymore. He'll just be a businessman with a questionable past. Maya's mind spun with implications. And the people who work for you? The ones who depend on you? Taken care of. Everyone who's been loyal gets a severance package and placement in legitimate businesses. Everyone who can't make that transition gets generous retirement packages. His expression hardened. The ones who've crossed lines that can't be uncrossed, they're on their own. What about Dmitry? He's not going to just let you walk away. No, he won't. Adrian's hands clenched at his sides. Which is why I'm here. Why I needed to talk to you. Dread pooled in Maya's stomach. What does this have to do with me? Dmitry is thorough. He investigates his enemies, looks for leverage, for weak points. Adrian's voice went rough. He knows about you, Maya. About Lily. He knows you live in my building, that I've helped you, that you matter to me. The words hung in the air between them. That you matter to me. Simple. Devastating. True. I'm a target, Maya whispered. Not if I handle this right. Not if I move fast enough. Adrian closed the distance between them, his intensity almost overwhelming. But I need you to trust me. I need you to let me keep you safe. We have security. The building isn't enough. Not against someone like Dmitry. His hands rose like he wanted to touch her, then fell back to his sides. I have a house outside the city, in the countryside. Secure. Private. No one knows about it except Victor and a handful of people I'd trust with my life. I want you and Lily to go there, just for a few weeks until I've finished dismantling my organization and neutralized the threat. Maya's throat tightened. You want us to leave? To hide? I want you to be safe. There's a difference. And what will you be doing while we're hiding? Ending this. The promise in his voice was absolute. Making sure Dmitry Kozlov never threatens anyone I care about again. There it was again. That acknowledgement of caring, of connection, of something neither of them had named but both felt growing between them. I can't just disappear, Maya said, even as part of her recognized the necessity. I have work. Lily has school. We have a life here. That won't mean anything if you're dead. The bluntness made her flinch, but Adrian didn't soften it. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to be honest. Dmitry hurts people to make points. He's done it before. He'll do it again. Then why not just give him what he wants? Let him have the territory or the business or whatever he's after. Because that's not how this works. Adrian's expression went cold. If I show weakness now, if I back down, it doesn't end with Dmitry. Every other person who's ever wanted a piece of what I have will see it as permission to take their shot. I'll spend the rest of my life fighting off challengers instead of building something legitimate. Maya sank onto the couch, her legs suddenly unable to support her weight. This was the world Adrian inhabited. Not the polished penthouse and expensive cars, but this. Violence and threats and impossible choices. How long? She asked quietly. How long would we need to hide? A month? Maybe 6 weeks. Just until I've restructured everything and made it clear that I'm out of the game completely. He sat beside her, careful not to crowd. The house is comfortable. There's staff to help with whatever you need. Lily would have space to play, and there's a school nearby if she needs to continue her education. You wouldn't be prisoners, just safe. And after, when this is over, you come back, resume your life, I'll be gone more than I'm here, traveling, setting up legitimate businesses, creating distance from my past. But you'll be safe. That's what matters. Maya looked at him, really looked. At the exhaustion in his eyes, the tension in his shoulders, the way he held himself like a man carrying impossible weight. He was trying to protect her, trying to do right by her and Lily while simultaneously tearing apart the empire he'd built. And somewhere along the way, without either of them quite meaning to, they'd become tangled in each other's lives in ways that went far beyond landlord and tenant. "Okay," she said finally. "We'll go." Relief flooded Adrian's features. "Thank you. But I have conditions." His eyebrow arched. "Conditions? You keep me informed. No more making decisions without telling me what's happening or why. If there's danger, I need to know about it." Maya's voice steadied. "And you don't get yourself killed trying to protect us, because Lily's already lost one father figure. She doesn't need to lose another." Something shifted in Adrian's expression at that, something vulnerable and raw. "I'm not her father." "No, but you're the first man who's ever been kind to her, who's made her feel safe instead of afraid. That matters, Adrian. You matter to her." Maya paused. "And to me." The confession hung between them, terrifying in its honesty. Adrian stared at her like she'd said something in a language he was still learning to understand. "Maya, don't." She cut him off before he could say something that would complicate this further. "Just promise me you'll be careful. That's all I'm asking." "I promise." The words were soft but absolute. "I'll be careful." They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of everything unsaid pressing down on them both. Then Adrian stood, smoothing down his shirt with practiced ease. "Victor will come for you tomorrow morning. Pack light. There's already clothes and supplies at the house. Tell Dennis you're taking emergency family leave. Don't tell anyone where you're going." His voice shifted into business mode, crisp and efficient. "Your phone will stay here. I'll give you a new one, untraceable. No contact with anyone from your old life until I give the all clear." Maya's stomach tightened at how thorough this was, how complete the isolation. "This is really happening?" "Yes." Adrian moved toward the door, then stopped. "I'm sorry for dragging you into this, for making your life more complicated instead of simpler. You gave me a safe home and got rid of my abusive ex-husband. I think I can handle complicated." His smile was slight but genuine. "You're stronger than you know, Maya Carter." "I'm learning." After he left, Maya sat in the quiet of her apartment and let the reality sink in. Tomorrow she would pack a bag, wake her daughter, and disappear into hiding because a crime boss had decided she mattered enough to protect. It was insane. It was terrifying. It was also, in a strange way, the most cared for she'd felt in years. She checked on Lily one more time, watching her daughter sleep peacefully, oblivious to the storm gathering around them. Then she pulled out her phone and started making a list of what they'd need. Practical. Methodical. Refusing to let fear dictate her actions. Morning came too quickly. Victor arrived at 8 a.m. sharp, his massive frame somehow gentle as he helped carry their bags to the car. Lily, excited by the adventure of going to a house in the country, chattered about horses and gardens and all the things she imagined waiting for them. Maya didn't correct her. Let her daughter have this innocence a little longer. The drive took 2 hours, the city gradually giving way to suburbs and then to genuine countryside. Rolling hills, dense forests, properties separated by acres instead of feet. When Victor finally turned onto an unmarked drive, Maya's breath caught. The house was beautiful. Not ostentatious like Adrian's penthouse, but elegant in its simplicity. 2 stories of weathered stone and large windows surrounded by manicured gardens and protected by a fence that looked decorative but was clearly reinforced. Security cameras were hidden among the landscaping. The gate required multiple authentication methods to open. A fortress disguised as a sanctuary. A woman in her 50s met them at the door, her smile warm despite the circumstances. "Ms. Carter? I'm Helen. I manage the household. Please, come in." The interior was just as impressive as the exterior. Hardwood floors, comfortable furniture, a kitchen that made Maya's fingers itch to cook. Helen gave them a tour showing Maya to a spacious bedroom with an ensuite bathroom and Lily to a room that had clearly been prepared for a child. There were toys, books, a stuffed rabbit sitting on the pillow. Mr. Volkov had us prepare this for your daughter, Helen explained. If there's anything else she needs, just let me know. Maya's chest tightened. Adrian had thought of Lily again, had made sure her daughter would have comfort in the middle of this chaos. The first few days passed in surreal suspension. Maya and Lily fell into a routine: breakfast with Helen, morning walks around the property, afternoons spent reading or playing. There was a small library, a media room, even a greenhouse where Lily delighted in helping the gardener water plants. It should have felt like a vacation. Instead, it felt like waiting for a bomb to explode. Adrian called every night on the untraceable phone he'd provided. His voice was always controlled, always calm, but Maya could hear the tension underneath. He told her about progress in dismantling his operations, about business deals being finalized, about people being relocated. He never mentioned Dmitri directly, but the threat hung unspoken in every conversation. "How are you holding up?" he asked on the fifth night. "I'm fine. Lily loves it here. She's already made friends with the gardener's dog." Maya paused. "How are you?" "Busy, tired." A sigh carried through the line. "But making progress." "That's not what I asked." Silence stretched between them, then quieter. "I miss you." The admission hit Maya like a physical blow. "Adrian, I know, I shouldn't say it. This is already complicated enough." His voice roughened. "But sitting here dealing with lawyers and accountants and people who want pieces of what I'm giving up, all I can think about is that house, about you and Lily being safe there, about what it would be like to join you, to just stop." Maya's heart hammered. "You can't stop yet. You said so yourself." "I know, but I want to." A pause. "That's new for me. Wanting something other than control or power or winning." "What do you want, Adrian?" The question hung heavy. Maya could almost see him on the other end of the line, wrestling with honesty, with vulnerability, with admitting something that probably terrified him more than any business rival. "Peace," he said finally. "I want peace. And maybe—" He trailed off. "Maybe what?" "Maybe a life that looks something like what you and Lily have. Something normal. Something real." Tears pricked Maya's eyes. "You can have that. After this is over. After you've left the business behind. Can I?" "Men like me don't get happy endings, Maya. We get consequences." "Then change the ending." Her voice was fierce. "You're already halfway there. You've made choices, taken risks, protected people who needed it. That's not the action of someone who deserves punishment. That's someone trying to do better. You have too much faith in me." "Maybe you don't have enough faith in yourself." Adrian's laugh was rough but genuine. "How did you get so wise?" "Survival. You learn fast when you have to." They talked for another hour about nothing important. Lily's adventures with the dog, the book Maya was reading, the weather. Small things that felt enormously significant simply because they were sharing them. When they finally said goodnight, Maya lay in the darkness of her borrowed room and acknowledged the truth she'd been avoiding. She was falling for Adrian Volkov. It was foolish, dangerous. A complication neither of them needed. But it was also undeniable, this pull between them. This connection forged in crisis, but deepening into something more. She didn't know what to do with that knowledge, didn't know if there was even space for it in the chaos of their lives. So she did what she'd learned to do years ago. She set it aside and focused on what she could control, getting through each day, keeping Lily happy, waiting for Adrian's nightly calls like they were lifelines. 2 weeks passed, then 3. Adrian's updates became more optimistic. Major deals finalized, key people relocated, legitimate businesses flourishing. But there was still tension in his voice, still something he wasn't saying. On the 22nd day, Victor appeared at the house unannounced. Maya knew immediately something was wrong. Victor's usual calm demeanor was strained, his movements more alert. He found her in the garden with Lily and Helen. "Ms. Carter, I need to speak with you, privately." Maya's stomach dropped. She handed Lily to Helen with instructions to go inside, then followed Victor to the edge of the property where they couldn't be overheard. "What happened?" "Dmitri made his move." Victor's accent thickened with stress. "He hit one of Mr. Volkov's remaining operations. 3 men hospitalized, and he left a message." "What kind of message?" Victor's jaw clenched. "He knows about this house. Not the exact location, but he knows Mr. Volkov has you somewhere safe. He's demanding a meeting. Says if Adrian doesn't give him what he wants, he'll find you himself. Terror clawed up Maya's throat. Can he? Find us, I mean? Not easily. This property is well hidden, well protected. But Dmitri has resources. Given enough time... Victor didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. What does Adrian want me to do? Stay here. Stay alert. We're doubling security. More men, better equipment. Mr. Volkov is handling the situation, but he wanted you aware of the heightened threat. Maya's hands clenched at her sides. I want to talk to him. He said you would. Victor pulled out a satellite phone. He's waiting. Adrian answered on the first ring. Maya. Victor told me. Her voice shook despite her efforts to control it. What's happening? Dimitri's getting desperate. That's actually good. Desperate men make mistakes. Adrian's voice was tight with controlled rage. But it also makes him more dangerous in the short term. I need you to stay exactly where you are. Don't leave the property. Don't take Lily anywhere outside the secure perimeter. For how long? A few more days. A week at most. He paused. I'm meeting with Dmitri tomorrow. We're going to settle this. Settle it how? However necessary. The promise of violence in those two words made Maya's blood run cold. Adrian, don't do something stupid. Don't. I'm not going to let him threaten you. Each word was precise, final. Whatever it takes, Maya. I'm ending this. Not if it means getting yourself killed. Then I'll be very careful not to die. A grim humor entered his voice. I made you a promise, remember? I intend to keep it. Maya's eyes burned. I'm scared. I know, I'm scared too. The admission was raw, honest. But fear means we have something worth protecting, and I'm very good at protecting what's mine. What's mine? The possessive should have annoyed her. Instead, it made her feel safer than all the security cameras and armed guards combined. Come back safe, she whispered. Please. I will. I promise. After the call ended, Maya stood in the garden and watched storm clouds gather on the horizon. The weather matched her mood, dark, turbulent, electric with impending violence. Somewhere in the city, Adrian was preparing for a confrontation that could end everything, could give them the freedom they both wanted, could destroy them both. And Maya could do nothing but wait. That night, she barely slept. Every sound made her jump, every shadow seemed threatening. She checked on Lily obsessively, reassuring herself that her daughter was safe, was sleeping peacefully, was still innocent to the danger swirling around them. Morning brought no relief. The hours crawled by with agonizing slowness. Victor maintained his post, stone-faced and silent. Helen tried to distract Lily with activities, but even her daughter sensed the tension. Mama, Lily asked over lunch, is something wrong? Maya forced a smile. Everything's fine, baby. You look scared. Out of the mouths of children, Maya pulled Lily close, breathing in her strawberry shampoo, grounding herself in this one perfect thing she'd managed to create. I'm just worried about our friend Adrian. He has some important business to take care of. Will he be okay? Yes. Maya made her voice certain. He's very strong, very smart. He'll be fine. She hoped it was true. The afternoon dragged into evening. Still no word from Adrian. Maya's phone sat silent on the counter, mocking her with its lack of activity. She'd picked it up a dozen times, ready to call him, only to set it back down. He needed to focus, needed to handle whatever was happening without her distracting him, but the not knowing was killing her. Dinner came and went. Lily went to bed. Maya sat in the living room with Victor, both of them staring at their phones like they could will them to ring. At 9:30, Victor's phone buzzed. He answered immediately, his expression unreadable as he listened. Then his shoulders dropped fractionally, relief Maya recognized because she felt it mirror in her own body. He's alive, Victor said when he hung up. The meeting happened. There was an understanding reached. What kind of understanding? The kind where Dmitri is no longer a threat. Victor's smile was grim. Mr. Volkov will call you soon. He wanted me to tell you he's safe first. Maya's legs gave out. She sank onto the couch, shaking with relief so intense it hurt. He's really okay? He's okay. 10 minutes later, her phone rang. Maya lunged for it, nearly dropping it in her haste to answer. Adrian? It's over. His voice was rough, exhausted, but alive. So wonderfully alive. Dmitri won't be a problem anymore. Neither will anyone else. I'm done, Maya. Actually, truly done. What happened? I'll explain everything when I see you, but the short version is that Dmitri accepted a very generous offer to relocate his operations to another state. Far from here. Far from you. You bought him off? I convinced him that his life would be significantly better somewhere else. The specifics don't matter. What matters is that it's finished. You can come home. Home. The word settled in Maya's chest like warmth. When? Tomorrow. I'll come get you myself. A pause. If that's okay with you. It's more than okay. They talked for a few more minutes, Adrian filling in details about restructured businesses and signed agreements and people being relocated to legitimate work. His entire criminal empire dismantled in less than a month. It should have been impossible, but Adrian Volkov made the impossible look easy. I'll see you tomorrow, he said finally, his voice soft with something Maya didn't quite dare name. Tomorrow, she echoed. That night, Maya slept deeply for the first time in weeks. When she woke, sunlight was streaming through the windows, and Lily was bouncing on her bed with excitement. Mama, Helen said we're going home today, and Adrian's coming to get us. Home. With Adrian coming for them, it sounded like something from a story, something too good to be real. But when a car pulled up the drive at noon, and Adrian stepped out, looking tired but triumphant, Maya knew it was real. All of it. The danger, the protection, the connection growing between them. He'd kept his promise. He'd come back safe. And now they had to figure out what came next. Adrian looked different in the afternoon sunlight. The sharp edges Maya had grown accustomed to seemed softer somehow. The perpetual tension in his shoulders eased. He wore jeans and a simple black shirt instead of his usual tailored suits, and the casual clothes made him seem more human, more real, more dangerous to her carefully guarded heart. Lily ran to him without hesitation, launching herself at his legs with the fearless trust only children possessed. Adrian caught her, his expression shifting into something tender that made Maya's breath hitch. Hey, little one, he said, crouching to her level. Did you take good care of your mom while I was gone? I did, and I made friends with Winston. That's the gardener's dog, and Helen taught me how to make cookies, and we read so many books. Lily's words tumbled over each other in her excitement. Sounds like you had an adventure. It was fun, but I missed our apartment. Lily's small face turned serious. And I missed you. Something flickered across Adrian's features. Surprise, pleasure, pain. He glanced up at Maya, and she saw the question in his eyes, the uncertainty, like he couldn't quite believe a child would miss him, would want him around. I missed you too, he said quietly, and Maya knew he meant both of them. The drive back to the city was filled with Lily's chatter about everything she'd experienced at the country house. Adrian listened with genuine attention, asking questions, laughing at her descriptions. Maya watched from the passenger seat, her heart doing complicated things in her chest. This was what it could look like, she realized. This ease, this comfort, this family feeling that had nothing to do with blood and everything to do with choice. The thought terrified her. By the time they reached the apartment building in Riverside, Lily had talked herself into exhaustion. She dozed against Maya's shoulder as they rode the elevator up, making small, sleepy sounds that reminded Maya just how young her daughter still was. How much childhood had been stolen by fear and instability. How much Adrian had given back. Maya got Lily settled in her room, then returned to find Adrian standing by the window, looking out over the neighborhood with an expression she couldn't quite read. Thank you, she said quietly, for everything, for keeping us safe, for keeping your promise. You don't need to thank me. Yes, I do. Maya moved closer, close enough to see the exhaustion etched around his eyes, the faint bruising on his knuckles that suggested his meeting with Dmitri hadn't been entirely peaceful. What you did, dismantling your entire organization, putting yourself at risk, was the right thing to do. Adrian turned to face her fully. I've spent 15 years building an empire I never particularly wanted. Taking it apart was liberating. And now, what happens now? Now I rebuild. Legitimate businesses, clean money, a life that doesn't require looking over my shoulder. His smile was slight. It's going to be boring. Somehow I doubt that. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, the weight of everything unspoken pressing down on them both. Maya knew she should let him leave, should maintain the careful distance they'd been dancing around for weeks, should protect herself from the inevitability of caring too much about a man whose world was still so different from hers. But she was tired of protecting herself, tired of fear dictating her choices. "Stay for dinner," she said impulsively. "It's the least I can do after you spent the day driving us back." Adrian's eyebrow arched. "You don't owe me dinner, Maya." "I know. I'm asking anyway." Something shifted in his expression. Warmth, pleasure, that vulnerability he so rarely showed. "Then yes, I'd like that." Maya cooked while Adrian sat at her small kitchen table, looking impossibly out of place in the modest space. She'd made this meal 100 times, simple pasta with vegetables, nothing fancy, but her hands shook slightly as she chopped garlic. Having Adrian here, in her home, watching her with those pale gray eyes, felt more intimate than any of their previous encounters. "You're good at that," he observed. "At what? Cooking?" "At making something out of nothing. Creating comfort." He paused. "It's a skill I never learned. Too busy building empires? Too busy surviving first, then too busy maintaining control." Adrian's voice went quiet. "I grew up in a world where showing weakness meant getting hurt, where trust was a liability. Cooking dinner for someone, sitting down to eat together, that required vulnerability I couldn't afford." Maya set down her knife and turned to face him. "And now? Now I'm learning." His smile was self-deprecating. "You're a good teacher, whether you realize it or not." "I'm not teaching you anything." "You are. You're teaching me that safety doesn't always require walls and weapons, that strength can look like a mother working double shifts to keep her daughter fed, that courage can be as simple as asking a stranger for help when you need it most." Maya's throat tightened. "I was terrified that night. At the restaurant, I didn't feel brave." "Bravery isn't the absence of fear, it's acting despite it." Adrian stood, moving closer, but stopping just short of touching her. "You were brave, Maya. You are brave. Don't let anyone, including yourself, tell you otherwise." The pasta sauce bubbled on the stove, filling the kitchen with warmth and familiar scents. Maya forced herself to turn back to the cooking before she did something foolish like cry or kiss him, or both. They ate together at her small table, Lily having woken just long enough to demand pasta before falling back asleep. The conversation flowed easily. Adrian asked about her childhood, her dreams before Marcus, what she wanted for Lily's future. Maya found herself opening up in ways she rarely did, sharing pieces of herself she'd kept locked away. In return, Adrian told her about his mother, about growing up in poverty, watching her work 3 jobs while his father drank away whatever money she earned, about finding her body when he was 12 and knowing that the man who'd killed her would face no consequences because people like them didn't matter to anyone. "That's when I decided to matter," he said quietly. "To make myself into someone who couldn't be ignored. Someone who had the power to protect people who needed it." His smile was bitter. "I just took a very dark path to get there. You're leaving that path now. Trying to, but the past doesn't disappear just because you want it to. There will always be people who know what I was, what I've done." Maya reached across the table, covering his scarred hand with hers. "Then they'll also see what you're becoming. That's what matters." Adrian's fingers curled around hers, warm and solid. "You have more faith in redemption than I do. Someone has to." They cleaned up together in companionable silence, moving around each other in the small kitchen with an ease that felt practiced despite being new. When the last dish was dried and put away, Adrian made no move to leave. Neither did Maya suggest he should. Instead, they ended up on her couch with coffee, talking about everything and nothing. Adrian told her about the legitimate businesses he was building. A security consulting firm, real estate development, import-export that actually imported and exported legal goods. Maya shared her dreams of going back to school someday, maybe getting a degree in social work so she could help other women escape situations like hers. "I could help with that," Adrian said. "The degree, I mean. Tuition, books, whatever you need." "Adrian, no, you've already done too much. I want to. His voice was firm. Not because you need saving, because you deserve opportunities. Because investing in your future is something I can do that actually means something. Maya's eyes burned. Why? Why do you care so much about what happens to me? The question hung between them, heavy with implication. Adrian set down his coffee cup with careful precision, his expression unreadable. Do you really not know? He asked quietly. I want to hear you say it. Because somewhere between seeing you terrified in that restaurant and watching you stand up to me about the apartment and listening to you sing Lily to sleep over the phone, I started falling for you. The confession came out rough, raw. I didn't mean to, I didn't plan it, but it happened anyway. Maya's heart hammered so hard she thought he must be able to hear it. Adrian, you don't have to say anything. I know this is complicated. I know my past makes me a terrible choice for anyone, let alone someone trying to build a stable life for their daughter. He stood, running a hand through his hair. I just needed you to know that you matter to me, that this, whatever this is between us, it's real for me. Maya stood too, closing the distance between them before her courage could fail. It's real for me too. Adrian went very still. Maya, I tried not to feel this way. Told myself it was gratitude or dependency or just proximity. She looked up at him, letting him see the truth in her eyes. But it's not. It's you. The way you look at Lily, like she matters. The way you kept your promises even when it put you at risk. The way you're trying to become someone better. I'm not better. You're someone who saw a stranger in trouble and helped. Who protected my daughter like she was your own. Who's dismantling an empire because you want a different life. Maya's voice strengthened. That's not nothing, Adrian. That's everything. He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and cupped her face with hands that could break bones but held her like she was something precious. I don't know how to do this. The normal relationship thing. I'll probably screw it up. Then we'll figure it out together. Maya leaned into his touch. I'm not exactly an expert either. Your ex-husband was a monster who didn't deserve you. That's not a reflection on you. And your past doesn't define your future. Same logic. Adrian's smile was soft, genuine, transforming his face into something almost boyish. When did you get so wise? Around the same time I grabbed a stranger's hand in a restaurant and changed my entire life. He kissed her then, soft and careful, like he was afraid she might shatter. Maya kissed him back, pouring weeks of longing and fear and hope into it. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Adrian rested his forehead against hers. I need to do this right, he said quietly. No rushing, no assumptions, just taking our time, letting this be whatever it's going to be. Okay? Okay? He sounded surprised. I've spent 4 years running from a man who treated me like property. I'm not interested in rushing into anything. Maya smiled. But I'm also not interested in running from something good because it scares me. I scare you. Terrify me. But in a different way than Marcus did. She touched his face, feeling the scratch of stubble against her palm. You scare me because you matter. Because losing you would hurt. Because this, she gestured between them, this could be real. Adrian kissed her again, deeper this time, and Maya felt the careful control he maintained even now. Felt him holding back, protecting her, making sure she felt safe even in this. When they finally separated, he stepped back deliberately, putting space between them. I should go, he said. Let you rest. Let us both think about what this means. Will you come back? If you want me to. I do. Adrian's smile could have lit the city. Then I'll come back. Tomorrow, if that's okay, we could take Lily to the park. Do something normal. Normal sounds perfect. He left with one more kiss at the door, chaste and sweet, the kind of kiss that promised more but didn't demand it. Maya watched him go, then leaned against the closed door and let herself feel everything she'd been suppressing. Hope, joy, terror, anticipation. Love, maybe, though it was too soon to name it that. Too fragile to examine too closely. But it was there, growing, taking root in the spaces fear had once occupied. The next morning, Adrian returned as promised. They took Lily to the park, watching her play on the swings and make friends with other children. To anyone observing, they probably looked like a normal family. Mom, dad, daughter spending a Sunday together. The illusion was both comforting and dangerous. Over the following weeks, a pattern emerged. Adrian would visit in the evenings after work, staying for dinner and conversation. They'd watch Lily play, talk about their days, share pieces of themselves in small increments. Sometimes he'd bring groceries or flowers or books he thought Maya might like. She'd cook for him, teach him how to make simple meals, laugh when he inevitably messed something up. It was domestic. It was normal. It was everything neither of them had known they wanted. But the outside world had a way of intruding on even the most carefully constructed piece. Maya was at work when her phone rang with an unfamiliar number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her step outside and take the call. "Is this Maya Carter?" A woman's voice, official and cold. "Yes." "Who's calling?" "This is Detective Sarah Morrison with the District Attorney's Office. I need to speak with you about Adrian Volkov." Maya's blood went cold. "What about him?" "We're conducting an investigation into his business practices. We'd like you to come in for questioning." "Am I being accused of something?" "No, ma'am. But we believe you have information that could be relevant to our investigation. We can do this the easy way, voluntarily at your convenience, or we can make it more formal." The threat was implicit but clear. Maya's mind raced. Adrian had said he was out, that everything was legitimate now. But if the authorities were investigating, that meant they'd found something, or thought they had. "I need to speak with a lawyer first." "That's your right. But Ms. Carter, I'd advise you to cooperate. Mr. Volkov is not who you think he is, and the more you're seen associating with him, the more you risk your own future, your daughter's future." The mention of Lily sent rage flooding through Maya's veins. "Don't bring my daughter into this. I'm just trying to help you see the reality of your situation. Adrian Volkov is a criminal. He's hurt people. And if you continue your relationship with him, you're putting yourself and your child at risk." "I'll call you back after I've spoken with an attorney." Maya hung up before the detective could respond. Her hands were shaking. She leaned against the restaurant's brick wall, trying to calm her racing heart. This couldn't be happening. Not now. Not when things were finally starting to feel stable. She called Adrian immediately. "Maya, what's wrong?" "The district attorney's office called. They want to question me about you, about your business." The words tumbled out. "Adrian, what's happening? I thought you were out. I thought this was over." His silence spoke volumes. Then carefully, "Can you get away from work? I'm coming to get you." "I'm on shift until—" "I'll talk to Dennis. Just meet me out front in 5 minutes." 20 minutes later, they were back at Adrian's penthouse. Victor stood guard outside, ensuring they wouldn't be interrupted. Adrian poured himself a drink, whiskey, neat, and downed it in one swallow before facing Maya. "There's an assistant district attorney, Richard Brennan. He's been trying to make a name for himself by going after organized crime." Adrian's voice was tight. "He's been investigating me for months, and I knew about it. I thought I'd covered everything, made sure the transition to legitimate business was clean. But he's persistent." "What does he have on you?" "Nothing concrete. That's why he wants to talk to you. He's hoping you'll give him something he can use. Testimony about threats, violence, illegal activity." Adrian met her eyes. "He'll try to scare you, make you think I'm dangerous, make you believe that protecting me puts Lily at risk." "Are you dangerous?" "You know what I was, Maya, what I've done. I've never lied to you about that." "That's not what I asked." Maya moved closer, forcing him to look at her. "Are you still dangerous? Is being with you putting my daughter at risk?" Adrian's expression cracked. "No. Everything I'm doing now is legal. I've severed all ties to the criminal organization. I have lawyers and accountants who've vetted every business, every transaction. Brennan is fishing because he knows I used to be someone worth investigating, but he can't prove I still am." "Then why is he still investigating?" "Because men like him don't care about the truth. They care about wins. And taking down someone like me, even a reformed version, would make his career." Maya sank onto the couch, her mind spinning. "What do I do? If I refuse to talk to them, does that make things worse?" "Possibly. But if you do talk to them and say anything at all, they'll twist it to fit their narrative." Adrian sat beside her, careful not to crowd. "I have a lawyer, someone excellent. I'll have her call you, walk you through your options. You don't have to do this alone. What about us? What happens to... She gestured helplessly between them. That depends on you. Adrian's voice went soft. If this is too much, if the investigation, the scrutiny, the risk of being associated with me is more than you want to handle, I'll understand. I'll make sure you're taken care of, the apartment, money for Lily's future, whatever you need. But I'll step back. You just walk away? To protect you? Yes. His eyes held hers. I told you I'm not good at this relationship thing, but I know that caring about someone means putting their needs above your own. And if staying away from me keeps you and Lily safe, that's what I'll do. Maya's throat tightened. Here was this man, this powerful, dangerous, complicated man, offering to sacrifice his own happiness for hers, offering to let her go because he thought it was the right thing. What if I don't want you to step back? Adrian's expression flickered with hope and concern. Maya, I'm tired of making decisions based on fear, tired of letting other people's threats dictate my life. She took his hand, lacing their fingers together. I'll talk to your lawyer. I'll figure out how to handle this district attorney, but I'm not walking away from you because someone's investigating your past. You're not that person anymore. Some people won't see it that way. Then those people don't matter. Maya's voice strengthened. You matter. This, she squeezed his hand, matters. And I'm not giving it up without a fight. Adrian pulled her close, burying his face in her hair. You're remarkable. You know that? I'm stubborn. Same thing. They sat like that for a long moment, drawing strength from each other. Then Adrian's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, his expression hardening. What is it? Brennan's office. They're requesting I come in for questioning too. He set the phone down. This is escalating faster than I expected. What does that mean? It means he thinks he has something, or he's bluffing, hoping one of us will crack and give him what he needs. Adrian stood, pacing to the window. Either way, we need to be prepared. For what? For things to get worse before they get better. Maya's stomach sank, but she forced her voice steady. Then we'll handle it, together. Adrian turned, and the look he gave her was so full of emotion, it nearly broke her. Together, he echoed. The lawyer arrived within the hour, a sharp-eyed woman named Rebecca Chen, who exuded competence and barely contained aggression. She walked Maya through her rights, what the DA could and couldn't do, how to answer questions without incriminating anyone. The important thing, Rebecca stressed, is that you tell the truth. Don't lie, don't speculate, don't embellish. If they ask about Adrian's business, you say you don't know details because you don't work for him. If they ask about your relationship, you say it's personal and not relevant to their investigation. What if they threaten to take Lily? Rebecca's expression hardened. They can't. You're not accused of any crime. They have no grounds to involve child services. If they try that tactic, it's intimidation, pure and simple, and we'll respond accordingly. Maya felt slightly better after the consultation, though the knot of anxiety in her stomach remained. When Rebecca left, Adrian walked Maya to the door. I'm sorry, he said quietly, for bringing this into your life. You didn't bring anything. The DA is fishing, and we're not going to let him catch anything. Still, this isn't what you signed up for. Maya turned to face him fully. I didn't sign up for anything, Adrian. I made a choice. I'm still making it, every day. She touched his face. Don't apologize for being someone worth choosing. He kissed her then, deep and desperate, like he was trying to memorize the taste of her. When they parted, his eyes were suspiciously bright. I love you, he said. I didn't mean to say it like this, in the middle of all this chaos, but I do. I love you, Maya Carter. Maya's heart expanded until it hurt. I love you too, which is why we're going to fight this. Together. Together, he agreed. But as Maya rode the elevator down to street level, she couldn't shake the feeling that the storm was just beginning, that Brennan wouldn't stop until he destroyed everything Adrian had built, and maybe everything they were building together. She pulled out her phone and called the number Detective Morrison had left. This is Maya Carter. I'll come in for questioning. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. I'll bring my lawyer. That's very wise, Ms. Carter. And Detective, don't ever threaten my daughter again. We clear? A pause. Crystal clear. Maya hung up and squared her shoulders. She'd faced down an abusive ex-husband. She'd rebuilt her life from nothing. She'd grabbed a stranger's hand in a moment of terror and somehow found love in the aftermath. She could handle one ambitious prosecutor trying to make a name for himself. Tomorrow she'd walk into that office with her head high and her truth ready. Tonight she'd go home to Lily, tuck her daughter in, and remind herself why she was fighting. For safety, for stability, for love. For the future she and Adrian were trying to build from the wreckage of their pasts, and she'd be damned if anyone was going to take that away from them. The district attorney's office occupied the 8th floor of a gray concrete building that seemed designed to intimidate. Maya sat in the waiting room with Rebecca beside her, watching the clock tick toward 9 a.m. Her palms were sweaty, despite the air conditioning, her heart racing despite her outward calm. "Remember what we discussed," Rebecca murmured. "Answer only what they ask. Don't volunteer information. If I tap your arm, stop talking immediately." Maya nodded, not trusting her voice. Detective Morrison appeared at 9 sharp, her professional smile not reaching her eyes. "Ms. Carter, thank you for coming in. Please follow me." The interrogation room, because that's what it was, despite their polite language, was exactly what Maya expected from television shows. Gray walls, metal table, uncomfortable chairs, a camera in the corner recording everything. Detective Morrison took a seat across from them, and a moment later, a man in an expensive suit entered. "Ms. Carter, I'm Assistant District Attorney Richard Brennan." He extended his hand, which Maya shook reluctantly. "I appreciate you taking the time to speak with us." "Let's be clear about why we're here," Rebecca interjected smoothly. "My client is not under investigation. She's here voluntarily to answer questions, which she'll do truthfully and completely. But any attempt to intimidate or threaten her will end this interview immediately." Brennan's smile tightened. "Of course. We simply want to understand Ms. Carter's relationship with Adrian Volkov." For the next hour, they walked through everything. How Maya met Adrian, the incident at the restaurant with Marcus, the apartment arrangement, the time spent at the country house. Maya answered honestly, as Rebecca had coached her, providing facts without speculation. "So Mr. Volkov threatened your ex-husband?" Brennan leaned forward. "He asked Marcus to leave. Marcus chose to leave. But you heard him threaten violence?" "I heard him suggest that Marcus should reconsider his choices." Maya kept her voice level, which seemed reasonable given that Marcus was violating a protective order by approaching me. "And the apartment you live in? You're paying below market rate?" "I'm paying what the landlord asked for. If you have questions about the rental agreement, you should speak to the property management company." "The property management company that works for Mr. Volkov?" "I don't know who they work for. I signed a lease and pay my rent. That's the extent of my involvement." Brennan shifted tactics. "Ms. Carter, we have evidence that Adrian Volkov has been involved in organized crime for over 15 years. Extortion, money laundering, possibly worse. You're a mother. Surely you understand the danger of associating with someone like that." Rebecca's hand moved to Maya's arm in warning, but Maya was already angry. The careful control she'd maintained cracked. "Mr. Brennan, let me be very clear about something. Adrian Volkov saved my life. He protected me and my daughter when no one else would. When my ex-husband, who put me in the hospital twice, showed up and threatened me, Adrian made sure I was safe. He's never asked for anything in return, never made me feel unsafe, never given me reason to doubt his intentions." "But you're aware of his criminal past?" "I'm aware that people can change, that past mistakes don't define future choices. And I'm aware that what Adrian does with his businesses is between him and his lawyers, not me." "So you claim to have no knowledge of his illegal activities?" "I have no knowledge of any illegal activities because I'm not involved in his business operations in any capacity." Maya leaned forward. "Is there an actual question here, or are you just trying to scare me into saying something you can twist?" Brennan's jaw tightened. "I'm trying to help you see the reality of your situation." "The reality of my situation," Maya interrupted, "is that I'm a single mother who works hard to provide for her daughter. I rent an apartment at a fair price. I'm in a relationship with a man who treats me with respect and kindness. If you have evidence of crimes, then charge him. Otherwise, stop wasting my time." Rebecca was smiling now, though she tried to hide it. Brennan, on the other hand, looked like he'd bitten into something sour. "We're done here," Rebecca announced, standing. "Unless you're planning to charge my client with something?" "No." Not at this time. Brennan stood as well. But Ms. Carter, I'd advise you to reconsider your association with Mr. Volkov, for your daughter's sake. Maya stood, gathering her purse with deliberate calm. Mr. Brennan, I've spent 4 years protecting my daughter from a man who hurt us. I know what danger looks like. Adrian Volkov is not it. She moved toward the door, then paused. And if you threaten my daughter again, even implicitly, I'll file a harassment complaint so fast it'll make your head spin. We clear? She didn't wait for an answer. Outside, Rebecca laughed quietly as they walked to the elevator. That went better than expected. You held your ground beautifully. Did I give them anything they can use? Nothing. You were honest without being helpful to their case, which is exactly what we wanted. Rebecca pressed the elevator button. They're fishing, Maya. They don't have enough to charge Adrian, so they're hoping to pressure someone into making a mistake. But you didn't give them that mistake. Maya's phone buzzed the moment they stepped outside. Adrian's name appeared on the screen. How did it go? He asked without preamble. I think I might have called the assistant district attorney out for trying to intimidate me. A pause. Then Adrian laughed, a genuine, surprised sound. You did what? Rebecca can explain. I'm okay, though. They didn't get anything useful. Where are you now? Just left the DA's office. Rebecca's heading back to her office, and I need to get Lily from school in a few hours. Can I see you? There's something I need to show you. Maya's heart skipped. Of course. Where? The penthouse. I'll send Victor to pick you up. 30 minutes later, Maya was riding the familiar elevator up to Adrian's apartment. When the doors opened, she found him standing by the windows, his posture tense despite his casual clothes. But it was what sat on the coffee table that caught her attention. Stacks of documents, legal folders, what looked like contracts and deeds and official paperwork. What is all this? Maya asked. Adrian turned and she saw something in his expression she'd never seen before. Uncertainty, hope, fear. My exit strategy, completed. He gestured to the papers. Every business restructured, every illegal operation shut down or sold, every loose end tied up. As of this morning, Adrian Volkov is officially just a businessman with a questionable past. Maya's breath caught. You're really done? Completely? Completely. Brennan can investigate all he wants. He won't find anything because there's nothing to find. Not anymore. Adrian moved closer. But that's not why I asked you here. He picked up a smaller folder from the coffee table and handed it to Maya. She opened it carefully, scanning the contents. It took her a moment to understand what she was looking at. Plane tickets. 3 of them. To a place she'd never been. What is this? A choice. Adrian's voice was quiet. I'm leaving. Not running. I've done nothing wrong legally, but I need distance from this city, from the investigation, from the life I used to live. I have business opportunities on the West Coast, a chance to build something entirely new in a place where Adrian Volkov is just another entrepreneur. Maya's hands trembled. You're leaving. I want to leave, but not alone. He took her hands, the papers crinkling between them. Come with me, you and Lily. Start fresh somewhere new, somewhere without Marcus's ghost or Brennan's investigation or constant reminders of everything we're trying to leave behind. Adrian, I have a job, an apartment, a life here, a life you built from survival, not choice. His grip tightened. What if you could build one from choice this time? What if you could wake up somewhere beautiful, go back to school like you wanted, raise Lily somewhere safe and clean and full of opportunities? What if you could do all that with someone who loves you? Maya's eyes burned. This is insane. I barely know you. We've been together for what, a few weeks? People don't just uproot their entire lives for love? For a chance at something better? Adrian's smile was sad. Maybe not. But we're not exactly normal people living normal lives, are we? He had a point. Nothing about their relationship had been normal from the start. Why should the next step be any different? What about Lily? I can't just pull her out of school, away from everything she knows. She's 6, young enough to adapt. And I've already researched schools near where we'd be living. Better schools than what's available here. Smaller classes, more attention, arts programs. He paused. But Maya, I'm not asking you to do this for me. I'm asking you to do it for yourself, for Lily, for the future you deserve. Maya pulled her hands free, moving to the window. The city spread before her, the same city where she'd suffered and survived, where she'd built a fragile life from ruins. Leaving felt like abandonment, like running away, but staying felt like clinging to safety that was only ever temporary. I need time to think, she said finally. This is too big to decide right now. I know, that's why the tickets are dated 2 weeks from now. Adrian joined her at the window. Take those 2 weeks. Think about what you want, what Lily needs, what kind of life you're building versus what kind you could build. And if I say no, pain flickered across his features, then I go alone. And you stay here with my full support, financially, legally, whatever you need. The apartment is yours regardless. I'll make sure you and Lily are taken care of. But we'd be over. Long distance rarely works. And I won't ask you to wait for someone who might never come back. His voice roughened. So yes, we'd be over, but you'd be okay. That's what matters. Maya wanted to argue, wanted to demand he stay, that he fight for them here instead of running. But she understood. Sometimes leaving wasn't running away. Sometimes it was running towards something better. She just didn't know yet if she was brave enough to run with him. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of impossible decisions and sleepless nights. Maya talked to Rebecca, who confirmed that Adrian's businesses were clean, his exit legitimate. She talked to her landlord, who offered to let her out of the lease without penalty if she decided to move. She even talked to Dennis, who surprised her by saying he'd write a glowing recommendation for any job she wanted to pursue. But mostly, she talked to Lily. Baby, how would you feel about moving somewhere new, somewhere far away? Lily looked up from her coloring book. Like on vacation? No, like to live. A new house, a new school, new friends. Her daughter considered this seriously. Would you be there? Yes, always. Would Adrian be there? Maya's chest tightened. Yes, he would. Then okay. Lily returned to her coloring like she hadn't just made a decision that would change their entire lives. I like Adrian. He's nice, and he makes you smile. Out of the mouths of children, Maya spent her nights researching the city Adrian had chosen, smaller than what they were used to, but with good schools and safe neighborhoods and opportunities she'd never dreamed of accessing. She looked at pictures of the house he'd bought, a real house with a yard and space for Lily to play. She imagined what it would be like to wake up next to Adrian every morning, to build a life together intentionally instead of accidentally. It was terrifying, it was tempting, it was everything she'd never let herself want because wanting felt too dangerous. 1 week before the flight, Marcus called. Maya almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up, and she was glad she did. Maya. His voice was different, quieter, less sharp. I'm not supposed to contact you, I know that, but I needed to say something. You have 2 minutes. I heard about the investigation, about Volkov. A pause. I was going to call Brennan, offer to testify about what I saw that night at the restaurant, the threats, the violence. I thought it would help you, get you away from him. Maya's grip on the phone tightened. But then I did some research, found out what you've built, the apartment, the stability, the safety. Found out that Lily's doing well in school, that you're happy. His voice cracked. I never made you happy, Maya. I made you scared. I made you small. And I'm sorry for that. She couldn't speak past the lump in her throat. I'm not calling Brennan, Marcus continued. I'm not giving him anything, because for once in my miserable life, I'm going to do the right thing and stay out of yours. A pause. Be happy, Maya. You deserve it. And if Volkov is the one who gives you that, then good. He hung up before she could respond. Maya sat in stunned silence, processing what had just happened. Marcus, her abuser, her nightmare, had just given her his blessing. It shouldn't have mattered. His opinion shouldn't have held any weight, but somehow it felt like the final piece clicking into place. 5 days before the flight, Brennan's investigation concluded. Rebecca called with the news, her voice triumphant. They're dropping it. No charges, no further investigation. Brennan couldn't find anything actionable, and his superiors told him to move on. Relief flooded through Maya so intensely she had to sit down. We're really clear? Completely. Adrian's businesses are legitimate, his finances clean. He's exactly what he says he is, a reformed businessman with a complicated past. Rebecca paused. For what it's worth, Maya, I've worked with a lot of people trying to go straight. Most of them fail. But Adrian's done it right. He's really changed. I know, Maya said softly. I've seen it. That night she called Adrian and told him her decision. I'm coming with you. Lily and I. We're coming. The silence on the other end lasted so long she thought the call had dropped. Then, are you sure? Maya, I need you to be absolutely sure because once we do this, I'm sure. And she was. Finally, completely sure. I want this. Want you. Want the life we can build together. Adrian's breath shuddered across the line. I love you so damn much. I love you too. Now stop being emotional and help me figure out how to pack up an entire apartment in 5 days. He laughed, and the sound was pure joy. The morning of their flight, Maya stood in her empty apartment one last time. The furniture was being donated, the lease officially terminated, all her belongings already shipped ahead. It looked smaller now, less like the sanctuary it had been, and more like what it really was, a temporary stop on a much longer journey. Lily tugged on her hand. Mama, Victor's waiting. I know, baby. Just one more minute. She thought about the woman who'd moved into this apartment months ago. Scared, broken, barely surviving. She thought about how far she'd come, how much she'd grown, how she'd learned to accept help, to trust again, to believe in possibilities beyond mere survival. This apartment had been her refuge, but it was time to leave the refuge and step into the life waiting beyond it. Okay, she said, squeezing Lily's hand. Let's go. Victor drove them to the airport, his usually stoic expression softening when he said goodbye. Take care of them, boss, he told Adrian. They're good people. I know, Adrian replied. That's why I'm keeping them. The flight was smooth. Lily pressed her face to the window, enchanted by the clouds. Maya sat between her daughter and Adrian, their hands linked over the armrest. She should have been terrified, should have been second-guessing this massive leap into the unknown. Instead, she felt peaceful. The house was everything the pictures had promised and more. Spacious and bright with a yard where Lily could play safely. The neighborhood was quiet, tree-lined, the kind of place where people said hello to their neighbors and children rode bikes in the street. Adrian had furnished it already, not ostentatiously, but comfortably, like a home instead of a showpiece. What do you think? He asked nervously as Maya walked through the rooms. I think it's perfect. She turned to face him, this complicated man who'd somehow become her future. I think we're going to be happy here. Yeah? Yeah. They spent the first week settling in, enrolling Lily in school, meeting neighbors, learning the rhythms of their new city. Adrian's businesses kept him busy, but he made time every evening for dinner together, for reading Lily bedtime stories, for sitting with Maya on the porch and watching the sunset. It was domestic. It was normal. It was everything. 1 month after their arrival, Maya received an acceptance letter from the local university. She'd applied to their social work program on a whim, never really believing she'd get in. But there it was, acceptance, with a scholarship that would cover most of her tuition. Adrian found her crying in the kitchen, the letter clutched in her hands. What's wrong? What happened? I got in, she managed through tears. I'm going to college. I'm going to get my degree. I'm going to help people. He swept her into his arms, holding her tight while she cried tears of joy and relief and hope. I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of me too, she whispered. For the first time in my life, I'm actually proud of myself. 6 months later, Maya walked across the stage at Lily's school to watch her daughter receive an award for reading. Lily beamed from the stage, and when she spotted Maya and Adrian in the audience, she waved enthusiastically. After the ceremony, she ran to them, her award clutched in her small hands. Did you see? Did you see me, Mama? I saw you, baby. I'm so proud. I'm proud too, Adrian added, kneeling to Lily's level. You worked really hard. Can we get ice cream to celebrate? Maya and Adrian exchanged glances, sharing a smile. Yeah, Maya said. We can get ice cream. As they walked to the car, hand in hand, the three of them, Maya caught their reflection in a store window. They looked like a family. Not perfect, but real. built from broken pieces and second chances and the courage to choose hope over fear. That night, after Lily was asleep, Adrian found Maya on the porch again. She developed a habit of sitting there in the evenings, watching the neighborhood settle into darkness, marveling at the peace she'd found. He sat beside her, pulling her close. Happy? Deliriously, she leaned into his warmth. You? More than I ever thought possible. He paused. I have something for you. He pulled a small box from his pocket. Maya's heart stopped. Adrian, I know we've done everything backwards. Started in crisis, built a relationship in chaos, moved across the country before we'd even been together a year. He opened the box, revealing a simple but beautiful ring. But I also know that I want to spend the rest of my life making you happy, making Lily happy, building this family we've created. So Maya Carter, will you marry me? She didn't even have to think about it. Yes. The kiss that followed was sweet and deep and full of promise. When they finally pulled apart, Adrian slipped the ring onto her finger with hands that trembled slightly. I love you, he said. I'll spend every day proving you made the right choice. I know I did. Maya touched his face, this man who'd saved her life and then taught her how to truly live it. We both did. They sat together in the darkness, watching stars appear one by one overhead. Somewhere behind them, Lily slept peacefully, safe and loved. Somewhere ahead of them lay a future full of possibility, college degrees and growing businesses, and watching Lily grow up in a home built on love instead of fear. It wouldn't always be easy. They'd have hard days and difficult conversations and moments when the past tried to reassert itself, but they'd face it together, this family they'd chosen to become. Maya thought back to that night in the restaurant when she'd grabbed a stranger's hand in desperate fear. She'd been looking for escape, for safety, for a moment's reprieve from the nightmare her life had become. She'd found all that and more. She'd found love, found strength she didn't know she possessed, found a future worth fighting for. She'd found home. And as Adrian's arms tightened around her and a gentle breeze carried the scent of jasmine from the garden, Maya Carter, soon to be Maya Volkov, let herself believe in the impossible, that broken people could heal, that dangerous men could change, that a single moment of desperate courage could transform into a lifetime of love, that happy endings weren't just for fairy tales, they were for survivors who refused to give up, for people brave enough to trust again, for families built from choice instead of blood. They were real. They were possible. They were hers. The past was behind them. The future stretched ahead, bright and unknown and full of promise. And for the first time in longer than she could remember, Maya wasn't afraid of what came next. She was ready for it.